Steve, there's a lot of unsung heroes who've just vanished in history because nobody knows who they were. Nobody knows where they came up with their ideas. I mean, we all know, like, nobody knows who made Velcro. It just sort of existed or whatever. There's no name we have attached to that property. And I thought about one the other day that I think might be one of the most clever people ever to exist. And let me tell you about him, Steve. I'm talking about the guy that decided on the spelling of boobs. Hear me out, Steve. Think about the word boobs.
Right.
Starts with a B, which looks like two boobs.
Uh-huh.
You follow that up with two O's, which looks like boobs.
Right.
Round it off with another B, more boobs, and then the letter S kind of looks like two boobs that are scissoring.
Wow.
I know. Genius.
Now that is amazing.
Yeah, and that was definitely a dude that did that for sure. Because he'd be like,
now,
I'm
gonna very much have to disagree with you there.
Okay.
Because women like boobs too.
Who doesn't? That's a good point. That's a very, very good point.
And I would say women are more likely writing about boobs before men were writing about boobs.
That also might be true. You're putting up a pretty strong counter argument here, Steve.
Yeah. Though it is possible that the word boobs was just discovered because some dudes graffitied a bunch of boobs on the side of a building. And then someone was like, what are boobs? It looks
like it says boobs.
Yeah.
That could be. That could be. So shout out to the heroic man or woman that decided on the spelling of boobs. And welcome to the brand newest installment of your favorite horror movie review podcast. It's Dead and Lovely here with your boys. It's me, Uncle Ben.
Me, Hollywood Steve.
And on today's episode, we're going to be diving to the depths of Mariana Trench. Not Mariana's Trench. I've been played my whole life. I thought it was like the trench that belongs to Mariana. Apparently, it's the Mariana Trench, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Though the other way around sounds like something a pirate would have named it.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
The deepest part of the ocean reminds me of a girl I knew.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
Mariana was her name.
You're learning so much listening to this show. It's a history lesson. It's a lesson about the English language, and we're going to be reviewing Underwater from 2020. Mm-hmm. That is after we catch up, shoot the shit, have ourselves a good time and a co-beer. If you want to get straight to the movie review portion, just look at the timestamp that's in the podcast description before you go leaving a negative iTunes review talking about how we fucking talk too much before the movie. We gave you a timestamp.
That's the podcast. That's the thing we do. Welcome to it.
Yeah, welcome. All are welcome. All are welcome. Yeah, we're going to have ourselves a good time on this episode because, personally, spoilers, I think this movie kicks ass. I think it's pretty fucking awesome.
I think it's real fun. I mean, fun. I think it's a lot of action that makes you feel like you're having fun, though the movie itself, pretty dark.
It made me say, I'm having fun. I wouldn't want to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is so much fun not being there.
Glad it's not me, is what I said the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
But before we dig into that, we need to catch up and shoot the shit. Steve, I feel like it has been maybe about 5 days since I seen you because for the first time in a year, we actually managed to get together and have ourselves a safe, socially distant, outdoor co-beer. We had a few just random days of glorious weather in East Tennessee, and we decided that we should meet up for the first time in forever at a picnic table at Old Merchants of Beer in the old city, Knoxville, and enjoy ourselves a couple of cold ones. I feel like we just needed some good friend therapy this week. You've had yourself kind of a rough week, Steve. I don't mean to bring it up and make you talk about it, but I just feel like you've had a bad one.
You think I wouldn't talk about it? There's no way I wouldn't talk about this. My grandfather died. And it's that's, you know, I probably have talked about it on the podcast before. My grandfather was my father figure growing up.
Yeah.
So, it's not awesome that he died.
Sure.
But he also was an old man, and he was in pain. So it's also not terrible. It's one of those things where, you know, it's kind of bittersweet, where it's like he had a good long life. Married for 65 years to my grandmother.
Amazing.
Yeah. Looking at him in the hospital bed, he was a little thinner than the last time I had seen him. But throughout his life, he was mostly 5'11", 250.
Woo!
In the hospital bed, he was down to 5'9", at 80 something, but 230. Not a big fat man either, just a thick boy.
Just a big guy, man. I don't know, man. I feel like I could have took him. I'm just saying. I mean,
Yeah,
weird time
probably.
to brag, but I feel like with the height difference he experienced, I might have had a fighting chance. Carry on, please.
Yeah, he was, just seeing him in the hospital bed. Emily and I went to the hospital when they extubated him. Just seeing him in a hospital bed, it wasn't one of those experiences where, you know, a lot of people see their bigger than life grandparent or parent now, you know, withered sort of husk. It was a big old man I knew, old Peckerhead.
Old Peckerhead, he was known as.
But there was just moments where he was completely surrounded by women, and I know that's how he would have wanted to go out. So it was pretty awesome. My mom, my aunt, my sister, my grandmother, and nurses. My wife was there. Just all these women. He would have been very happy to, because he was a very charming man. Loved to flirt. Married for 65 years, never stopped flirting.
Just a old
Flirted
flirt.
with every single woman he met. He would have loved it. So it was an interesting moment where I really just had trouble feeling too bad about it. Like, it was sad, man. But it was also like, this is kind of exactly what he would have wanted. So pretty perfect. Pretty cool life he had. He worked in the mines from his teen years.
Good Lord.
Fucked up his back in the mines, then sold life insurance, owned a restaurant with my grandmother. The dude had a long, eventful life. He was a Little League football coach. He ran Little League baseball and Little League football in Jefferson City for a long time.
Yeah.
Really good dude.
Well, and he helped raise, half of the greatest podcast of all time. So I know that he was definitely, super stoked about that, because the man surely was a listener of the show, right?
Absolutely sure. He definitely listened to the show. No,
Podcast
I don't think he ever heard
we
it.
called him.
Podcast Papa. I don't think he ever heard it. I don't. He never did quite understand what a podcast was, but he definitely was proud of me. So that's positive. I don't know. Would I rather him have heard the podcast? Definitely not. I don't.
What, judging by the fact that we talk about boobs and necrophilia and
Yeah, I think he would have felt less proud. He would have been like, "Huh, okay, so you're just fucking around on the internet with your friend."
Maybe that's what a podcast is. I was gonna say I'm still not really sure I understand what a podcast is, but here I am doing one. I don't get it. It's like being in a cult or something. Like, what am I doing here? I don't know. Put the mic in front of me. Let me talk.
Just drink the Kool-Aid.
Well, man, I hate it for you, but I am very glad that you got to have such a wonderful pep in your life, because I never met him, but everything that you tell me about the guy, he sounds like he was quite a good dude and learned you real good. It sounds like he learned you good.
He did. He taught me to be a big old man, baby, but to be charming about it.
Tight. That's the secret, man. That's the secret. Personality goes a hell of a long way. We learned that from Pulp Fiction. Yep. Well, man, it was good to see you and hang out and have some co-beers and talk about, honestly, just to talk about stuff that wasn't us podcasting. Like, that's really one of the first times that we've gotten together and just talked about stuff that wasn't for the show in a really long time and just hung out, kind of like friends do.
Yeah,
And
that thing.
While we were chilling and drinking some co-beers, there was a couple of people that wandered into the patio area there. It was two elderly people. It was like a guy and a woman that were probably maybe 60 or so, and they seemed to be existing in maybe some sort of drugged out haze. I'm not exactly sure what was up with those people, but
yeah,
the guy just full on walked into a table full of people, literally just walked into them in this surreal sort of haze. And I couldn't quit thinking about him. Well, I figured out that these are people that escaped from a David Lynch movie.
That is what it felt like. It was for sure. Because I was like, at first I was like, because of the way they were acting, I was like, oh, they're probably homeless and maybe just drunk or something. Like, I understand if I were homeless, I would also get drunk. But it was like, wait a second, no, their clothes are clean. This is just an elderly couple and they're both on drugs.
Yeah, it seemed that way. They're old and they like to fucking party.
Yeah, and they were partying.
I guess so, man. I think they'd already partied on the set of the newest David Lynch movie, and they just decided to come visit. I guess
they were like, we just
surreal.
saw the weirdest baby.
Yeah. But it was good getting to see you, man. And I want to know, what have you been watching this week, man?
Oh,
Look out.
What? Yeah, I mean, I'll just explain it, not to talk too much more about my grandfather's death. But that happened on Tuesday, which is when we normally record.
Yep.
And we're now recording on Sunday, just a couple days before this comes out.
Sunday podcast Sunday.
In the time leading up to my grandfather's death, I knew he was in the hospital, and it's not been a week of me wanting to experience a lot of new things. It's been me just playing video games and watching stuff like Raising Hope, as I said, or The Boys. I watched a few episodes of that after I watched the first one, because it was just like, oh, I like this and I don't have to choose a new thing.
Wait, The Boys, are you talking about that show that we just did a Patreon exclusive episode on?
Yes, I am talking about that very same The Boys that we just did a Patreon exclusive episode on.
Wow.
Go patreon.com/Dead and Lovely, become a patron on any level. You can listen to that episode.
You can.
Also, our next episode on the what are we calling it again? The podcast pilot?
TV Test Pilots.
That's it. TV Test Pilots. Over there on the TV Test Pilots Patreon exclusive, we're going to be doing WandaVision next.
That's right.
So whoop, whoop, head over there.
That's right.
Anyway, so I did get into some new stuff, but I had to sort of ease myself into it. So, let me tell you a little bit, Ben, about a movie called No Escape Room.
No Escape Room. I don't know anything about this.
I just watched this yesterday night, and it was one of those where I saw the title and I was like, there's no way that title can I can't be disappointed by this movie, because that title is terrible.
Very bad.
It's a real bad, because it's like, so what if you were in an escape room but you couldn't escape it, right?
Like a No Escape Room. I got it.
Like No Escape Room. Like, terrible title. So I was like, this couldn't possibly disappoint me. And you know what? It didn't. In fact, I would say once it started, one of the title cards was Sci-Fi Channel Original, and I was like, oh, lower expectations even. And then I watched it and I was like, this is one of the best sci-fi original movies I've ever seen, which is an extremely low bar.
Yeah, of course.
But still, it's solid. Like, other than the fact that, like, there's some terrible dialogue, and that has that thing where people will try to get someone's attention by saying their name over and over and over, and the person is inexplicably not paying attention.
That'll
and
thing.
It's annoying as hell, and they do it several fucking times. Other than that, the acting is solid. The directing is solid. Visually, okay looking most of the time, and it reminded me of 13 Ghosts.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I would say if you're willing to overlook a lot of things, it made me feel more comfortable getting into new stuff. So actually, after watching it, I watched a couple of things I hadn't seen, including Haunting in Connecticut.
Oh, I've heard about that, but I don't know anything about it or if it's any good.
It's not good.
Sick, dude.
I've heard people say it's good. I don't know what they're talking about. Boy, it's real bad, but Virginia Madsen's in it, and Amanda Crew, and they're both gorgeous. It's not... No, it's bad. It's
okay.
bad.
All
it's
right.
bad.
All right.
I was going to try to find some positives. Like, I would say, honestly, I would watch No Escape Room over Haunting in Connecticut.
Oh my God, man.
I'm just going to put that out there. Boom.
Why do we have so much trouble getting good haunted movies? Like, honestly, most like movies that deal with a haunting are either fucking amazing or absolute dog
Absolutely
shit.
terrible. Yeah.
What's so bad about it then?
Most of the scares are dependent on camera angle and a music sting.
Ooh, innovative.
So, yeah. Like, I think one of the first scares is Virginia Madsen opens a closet with a mirror on the inside to show somebody what's in the closet, which is like, why would you show this scene? This is boring. And then she goes to close the door and you see something in the corner in the mirror and you're like, oh, what?
Oh
because
my
the music
God.
sting goes, bing, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be scared because of this stupid fucking scene you showed me. Gotcha.
I've never once seen a mirror scare in a movie where someone suddenly appears in a mirror behind someone in like a medicine cabinet or something. Wow, this'll really get them going.
Yeah, and in this case, the people don't even see it. That's the thing that really annoys me, is that it's set up for the viewer to see.
Got it.
Basically, if we're in God mode and can see all this, why can't we see all of it? Why don't we see the ghosts all the fucking time? Because we're in God mode. We can see them.
That's a good point.
It's ridiculous. But Ben, on the Friday night, we watched something I had never seen as well.
On the Screamin' Chat?
On the old Screamin' Chat, watched a little movie called Bats.
Bats. What's it about?
It's a prequel about those bats that scared Batman, made him become Batman.
Nice. It's their story. I love it.
Right. Yeah, finally. No, it's basically if you did arachnophobia with bats and you eliminated the environmentalist message and threw in Lou Diamond Phillips.
I'm okay with all of this, frankly.
Ooh, boy, you'd be less okay if you watched Bats.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Not a good, huh?
Not good. I really did, like, that was kind of the thing to me, was like, I saw Lou Diamond Phillips was in it. I had never watched it, but I was like, maybe it's a hidden gem I haven't heard of, or, maybe people don't talk about it because nobody's gone back and watched it. But no, that's not it. It's terrible. It's bad.
It's just not good. It's not famous because the movie wasn't good.
Yep, that is the case. But we had a good old fun time. And guess what, Ben?
What?
Next week on the Screamin' Chat, I want to advertise this to get as many people out as possible.
All right.
Because we're watching Pieces.
Oh, shit.
And guess why we're doing that, Ben?
Why? Why would we do that?
Because the Wednesday after this Friday, an episode of Neon Brainiacs is coming out.
That's
where
right.
you and I appear and talk about Pieces.
We did it? We did that?
Yeah.
That was us?
So if you're like, I want to listen to that episode, but I've never seen Pieces, well, here's an opportunity. The Screamin' Chat this Friday. Show up, watch Pieces with us, and then hear me and Ben talk all about it with Greg and Ben on Neon Brainiacs.
Mm-hmm, that's right. We had some wild four-way podcast action, just opening up our open podcast relationship that we have going. Steve got to be with another Ben. I know that's exciting.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
I was actually calling him by your name. He didn't even know.
He didn't even know, did he?
Yeah.
That's romantic. That's kind of sweet, honestly. Thanks for telling me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good time being on their show. We'd love to have them on our show sometime soon, too. So, yeah, you guys be sure to go and listen to that and tune in to the Screamin' Chat this Friday to watch Pieces. It is a silly fucking movie. Possibly a Giallo parody. We talk about that on their episode and stuff. So go into it with that mindset, and it'll actually make a lot more sense to you, I think.
It will make a good bit more sense. And Ben, you pointed this out to me that we didn't talk about on their show, unfortunately, but the way that there's a black gloved killer and it shows him doing stuff like with the gloves on, and the way he clumsily does everything, like
Very
that
clumsy.
really sealed for me that you're right, that it is a Giallo spoof. There's no way it's serious.
Whenever he's pulling that photograph out of that box, like the picture of his mom with that's like crossed out or whatever, it seriously takes every bit of 30 seconds for him to pull it out of the box, because He's just clumsy because he's wearing fucking gloves like you always do in a Giallo movie.
Oh my god, it's so ridiculous. So come out Friday. It's awesome. It's streaming on Shudder, but I also found it on YouTube, and hopefully it's still there on Friday. If not, we'll watch it on Shudder. But the YouTube version is actually higher quality than the one on Shudder.
Wow.
Don't know why.
Huh. Okay, well, be sure to tune into that, hang out with your boys over on that Discord server. Anything else you caught this week?
No. Just been playing some of that Fallout 4. Been really getting into it. Killed me a behemoth yesterday.
Ooh, very
First behemoth
good.
I've killed in Fallout 4. It was
What
fun.
did he do to you?
He beat big and scurry.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm,
Yeah, and I was like, I don't want to try to talk to you. I'm going to shoot you from far away.
That's the same reason you killed the Big Show all those years ago.
It is. And then Paul White was resurrected by The Undertaker.
It happens. These things happen. We know it.
This was all behind the scenes. You guys didn't see it on the show.
Now, Steve, this week, I watched myself 3 things I want to tell you about.
Oh, tell me all about them.
I've got something old.
Oh, good.
I've got something new. And I've
I
got
hope you
something
got something borrowed.
newer. No, it's just newer.
Oh, damn it.
Newer than new, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We watched Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid this week. Never seen that one.
You haven't? Okay. Now, that one is, for a non-Western fan, maybe a bit of a challenge.
I didn't really like it, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Like,
yeah,
it had parts in it that I liked, but yeah, it's very meandering, and there's just so much stuff where you're like, is this really the soundtrack to this movie? Because it's fucking goofy. Like, it won an Oscar for, like, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head and shit, and it's like, that is wildly out of place in that movie and in that scene. For one, it's not raining. What?
Yeah.
And a lot of the other just music in the flick makes no sense. And this comes from the guy that, like, wishes Goblin did the soundtrack for every movie. So I don't exactly know how this one doesn't pass the test, but soundtrack was just really weird, and there's, like, all these parts in the movie where it's like, hey, here's like 5 minutes in sepia tone that's a bunch of photographs of them just wandering around a town having a good time. Like, really? Why? It had good parts in it, man, but like overall, I don't know, man. Maybe if I saw it when it came out, I would get it, but I didn't think it was very good, honestly.
No, I'm with you. It's not one of my favorites either. I didn't obviously see it when it came out and saw it as a kid, and it's different. It's just so different. But I do see the value in it now, watching it as an adult with a lot more perspective on Westerns, but I still don't. It's not like an enjoyable watch. It's very long.
It's very long. Some good acting and stuff in it, obviously, but that's
absolutely.
about it for me. And it looks gorgeous. Really gorgeous looking movie.
Yes, looks great. Mm.
I'll give it that. I also watched The Little Things with Denzel and Jared Leto, just looking real dumpy the whole movie. Looking dumpy. Have you seen this?
I've not. I don't even know what this is. What is this? What's going on?
What? You should watch it, man. It is it's a crime movie. It's about crime.
Oh, okay.
And it's one of those that I can't really say too terribly much about without kind of spoiling it. There's crimes in it, and there's people trying to solve the crimes.
Ooh, right.
And it's about the lengths that people will go to solve the crime.
Ooh, turns out that the crime solvers are crime doers as well.
Look out. Man, I think it's pretty good. Like, I have some friends who've seen it that didn't really get into it because they thought that it was slow and that the ending wasn't, like, super conclusive. But I have a feeling if you like the endings of movies like let's say No Country for Old Men.
Oh, yeah. I do love that one.
Yeah, me too. I think that's awesome. I think if you enjoy that and you like crime, psychological kind of stuff, you'll enjoy this movie. It's also got some really killer performances and stuff in it. I don't know. I enjoyed it, but it's one of those that I would get it if you didn't. But I think that you would like it, so check that out.
Yeah, I mean, if No Country for Old Men is that's one of my favorite endings of a movie. I know it's not like this wonderfully conclusive ending, but it kind of is. It's kind of like the perfect statement for the ending. Yeah, I love it.
Totally agree. So check that one out. And we also watched an even newer movie that you watched this week too, Steve. We watched I Care a Lot on the Netflix.
I did watch that one. I forgot to even mention it. Yes, I care a lot.
Man, that's a movie about really terrible people doing really terrible people stuff.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It goes hard in a way because, like, I've said before that representation means having more villains as well. Like, you need more, like, strong woman villains, strong black villains, and we've seen that in the past few years. This is probably one of the strongest, like, swing for the fences, nihilistic, absolutely hateable, but still somehow likable villain.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, the movie is lacking in some ways, but as far as the character development and the acting, it's amazing.
Yeah, zero
the
complaints
story's
there.
Good. Mm-hmm. It's solid. It's I think the Russian mafia is a bit of a pushover throughout
After
the
you
movie.
pointed that out, yeah, I agree.
Which is not likely if we're talking about the Russian mafia that actually
typically
exists.
the case, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there were some small bits that I was like, little quibbles, but mostly it was just Rosamund Pike being amazing, Peter Dinklage being amazing, Diane Wiest being amazing, just
oh man, killer.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah. Definitely not like a movie that you want to watch if you're like, you know what I need to feel better about humans.
No, yeah, it is definitely about how terrible people are and how terrible the medical care and legal system in this country are and all sorts of other things.
Oh yeah, definitely so, man. But I think worth a watch for sure.
Yeah. Just, it's definitely when you want to follow up with something lighter and nicer.
You know what? I got something light and nice hanging out aside me right here.
Yeah?
I've got myself a Coe beer that I'm just dying to crack into, Steve. What about you?
Me too. I got me a Coe beer right over here. I got this. You gave me a Prairie Artisan Ales Funky Gold Mosaic, which is a dry hop sour ale. That is like 50 words I just said to describe this.
It's a lot of description. There's a lot in there, too. I had one of these a while back, and I just remember being generally kind of confused about it. So I hope that you enjoy it and can maybe explain to me what it is, because it's definitely unique. I guarantee you'll have it and be like, well, that's not common.
Yeah, dry hopped sour ale. It's a 5.8%er, so... that's a big old boy for a sour.
That's true. I've got myself a bigger old boy because I got myself a pint can of an Edmunds Oast Brewing. It's their sour blackberry raspberry, which is described as an American sour ale brewed with blackberry and raspberry. And this comes to me from Charleston, South Kakalaki.
Oh, yeah. I've been there several times.
Mm-hmm, me too. Did the Charleston all over that fucking town.
Did you? Eat a Charleston chew doing the Charleston?
Oh, man. Talk about things I fucking hate. Charleston chew. Ugh,
I don't
cut
get the
it
hate
out.
for Charleston chews.
Are you 80? Are you secretly 80?
What? When's the last time you had a Charleston chew?
I mean, a long time because I wrote them off so long ago, Steve.
I'm telling you, Charleston chews are tasty.
Do I need to go back? Do I need to, like, retract my hate for the chew?
I think anything that you've hated since you were a child, you should probably stop hating.
You know what? We'll kind of talk about that in the preview palace because honestly, it is oddly relevant to one of my portions for the preview palace on this episode. So you might just be right. Have you had yourself a sip of that Coe beer yet?
Let me get a little taste of it here.
Now this thing I just poured into my glass, it is a opaque, deep raspberry red color. It looks like there's some sediment floating around in there. There's pieces of fruits that were once alive, and they're being pushed to the surface by an ample amount of bubbles.
It tastes like tropical fruit starburst.
Is that the thing?
Yeah. It's like that mosaic, like tropical fruit flavor, kind of fruit punchy. I don't know, like how to describe it. It's interesting. What is this?
I know, right? It's just kind of like confusing. I'm not sure what it is. Do you like it upon first sip?
I think just
That's what I said too. I was like, I think question mark?
I feel like when I was a kid, I would have slammed this.
Okay.
But as an adult, I can taste more than just the sour fruitiness. And it's the weird part. But like
it's the weird part, yeah.
The strong part of it is sour fruitiness.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's tasty. But it's also just, yeah, it's a little strange.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Keep
it's
drinking on it and thinking on it.
It's almost like if you could drink an ellipse, where you see that ... at the end of a text message, and you're like, that could mean anything.
Yes, that is exactly what it feels like. Where you're like, I don't know about that. It's like anxiety almost. Like you're just in between states. Like I don't know what the fuck's happening.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah, this thing I'm drinking on is tasty, though, man. It has a lot of just good, like, real raspberry, blackberry kind of flavors to it. It is nice and tart. It does not have that biley kind of sourness to it. It has a little bit of earthy, vegetal plant taste to it. I enjoy this quite a lot. I think it's like 6.4% too, which is pretty high for sour.
That's a big one.
I enjoy that. Dude, I'll tell you what else I enjoyed, and I got to snag some of this. For the show sometime, as well as some of their other beers. Here in Knoxville, we just had a brewery open up called Zool, which Zool is a name that, you know, if you fucking love horror and stuff like that, you should definitely know the name of Zool. And, man, I had one of their beers that was called Adidas. It was All Day I Dream About Simcoe.
Okay.
And it was just like a single Simcoe hop, like hazy IPA. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You would love it. I gotta get us some.
I'm interested. So Zool just opened up right before the pandemic, right?
I think it was like they kind of started construction on their place right before the pandemic, and then they opened up. I think it's been, I don't know, maybe early winter, something like that. So they've not been open long, but man, they are putting out some stuff that is serious. I still haven't been to like the tap room and sat down and stuff just because it's a new brewery and we're in the middle of a pandemic, so of course it's very busy all the time, and it's not been warm enough to set out on their patio and stuff, so I've actually not been to visit them yet, but I know that I will be because they make a mighty fine co-beer over there.
Hell yeah, I'm excited.
Now, you know, Steve, we're talking about Underwater today, which is a movie that stars one Kristen Stewart, and Kristen Stewart is an actress, and Steve, let's just go ahead and clear this out of the way, because I know that a lot of people still do what I erroneously did for years and years and years, and hold it against her that she was from Twilight. Okay, let's just go ahead and clear the air here, because you watch the Twilight movies and you're like, wow, she is a horrible actress, because those movies are just unbelievably bad. Listen to our Twilight episode to hear more about that. It's hilarious, and if I recall, we got rip shit drunk on it, just talking shit about that movie. But, you know, I feel like I have been unfair to Kristen Stewart, because now that I look back on it, I'm like, dude, if you handed those lines to fucking Meryl Streep, there would be no change in the outcome. Like, it's not Kristen Stewart's fault. Like, those movies are just fucking dog shit. Nobody could work with them, and I really hate it that, like, that was her introduction to the world at large, is like, hi, I'm Kristen Stewart, I'm in these fucking terrible movies, because I feel like that tainted people's expectations of her, and I have since seen her in many movie films and found her to be a very fine actress and seems like a cool person too. I don't know her. We've never hung out. She's never returned my calls, but from everything I know about her... She doesn't
return your calls?
No, she doesn't. Did she get back to you?
Boy. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, tell her to call me, dude.
We're chatting. Of course, it's probably because I didn't dislike her before Twilight.
Shit. God damn it.
This
might be on me, is what you're saying. Sounds like a me problem.
Might be. Sounds like a you problem.
Mm-hmm, that's right. A Bahram you problem. But you know, Steve, my thoughts on Kristen Stewart aren't the only things I've changed my mind on in my life. There's other things in my life that I used to not like that I now do like. I've got about 3 of them that come to mind.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you got a couple. Do you have a couple things that maybe you change your mind on?
I got a couple too, tree.
Shit, man. How about we just, sneak on into the preview palace and talk about them before the movie review starts?
Hey, guys, remember how we used to hate the preview palace?
Oh, man, everybody, just talking shit about it all the time.
Well, guess what? He's like super cool now.
No way.
Yeah, he went away to like that camp for the summer, and now he's way hot.
Whoa, that's crazy. I got to go back and retract that bad iTunes review I wrote for Dead and Lovely.
And guess what? His penis is super veiny now. And
oh my God.
That's good? I don't know.
Wow. The main vein is just really like leaping out.
Anyway, welcome to the Preview Palace.
Where we're going to talk about stuff, what we used to not like, and now I've come around to it. Steve, do you mind if I just kick this thing off?
Yeah, kick it off.
Because I'm a person that used to really dislike a lot of what I'm going to call dad rock, but it could also be mom rock. I've mentioned this on the podcast a couple of times, but it really was just like a big revelation to me where like through all my life, I fucking hated the Eagles. I hated Fleetwood Mac. Hated all that stuff, man.
The Eagles I can get. Fleetwood Mac. That's a sin against music.
Damn. I was doing it wrong, man. I was doing it wrong. And I had a couple of experiences right around the age of 30. I think, honestly, part of it was just turning 30. That made me suddenly enjoy the shit out of this stuff, man. I watched that Eagles documentary, and I heard those guys backstage singing them big old harmonies, and then I got to play in a couple of cool cover bands like Smooth Sailor, Knoxville's hottest Monsters of Yacht rock cover band, where we play, like One of These Nights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And got to actively like participate in playing those songs and playing those cool chord progressions and solos and singing those vocal harmonies and realizing how fucking deep they are. Don't get me wrong, Get Over It's still the lamest song ever made.
Yeah. That's later though, right?
Yeah, that's way, way later. And even like with Fleetwood Mac, like I used to hate that shit. I hated hearing Stevie Nicks sing. I thought that she sounded like a goat, which she still kind of does, but maybe I like goats now is all, okay? Had a little turnaround goats. I used to not like them either, so it just makes sense that I like Steamy Nicks now.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
I had, again, an experience where I had a guitar student come in with, what's that Fleetwood Mac song? Never Going Back Again? It's just one with, what's his name? Their guitar player, Leslie.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Holy shit, I'm totally blanking out on his name right now. Somebody is like smashing their steering wheel, screaming at me.
You got
for
the
not knowing his
Leslie
name.
part right, though.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's get Fuzzbeat on that. Get Fuzzbeat on that while I tell this story.
You continue telling your story while I beat Fuzzbeat until he does his job.
Yeah, beat Fuzzbeat into submission while he gathers the name of that guitar player whose name I am blanking out on. But anyway, I had somebody bring that song in for a guitar lesson. They were like, hey, I'd really like to learn this. And I listened to the guitar part on it, and I was like, okay, first of all, this is two guitars. So this is going to be really hard to make it sound right on one guitar. You just have to choose one part or the other. And then I realized, like, oh no, that's just a one guitar, Jukebox Hero style. And the finger picking and stuff on it is bonkers nuts. It is so hard to play. I actually did learn it barely, and I probably can't play it now because it's been a while since I practiced it and stuff. But, just getting a taste of things and getting in there and learning these things can sometimes really turn your opinion on stuff around and make you enjoy something what you didn't like afore.
Okay, so now I'm gonna burst the tension bubble for all those people who are like, it's not fucking Leslie.
Yeah,
it's Lindsay Buckingham.
Lindsay, there we go. Fuck, man, it's driving me crazy. Lindsay Buckingham, he's a picking motherfucker. He'll come at you picking.
Sorry, we made you sit through that.
Yeah, that's totally my bad right there. Don't listen to me. I don't know nothing about guitar. What am I talking about?
I love Fleetwood Mac. Yeah,
I still don't like the Rolling Stones or Bob Dylan, though.
I love Rolling Stones, but again, always was. Don't like Bob Dylan, don't like the Eagles. Not a big fan of either. Yeah, but I think I was always into that. So, because I grew up listening to classic rock, like my mom was into Led Zeppelin, Fleetwood Mac, the Stones, stuff like that. So, grew up listening to all that, so I have positive associations with those things. But I understand associating certain music with old people and not being into it because of it, for sure. Yeah,
old people are whack.
Yeah. Now, Ben, this is one of the earliest examples for me. So like I really wanted to start from my first real turnaround.
All right.
And that was with mayo.
Oh, okay. You were like me. You were an anti-mayo man, huh?
Well, here's what happened. When I was a kid in second grade, I went to the library and I checked out a science book for like home science experiments. Because I wanted to do experiments at home because I wanted to have a lab like Dr. Frankenstein or Beekman or Bill Nye, you know? Like
As you do.
Like a cool person, right? So the first experiment in it just had the stuff and told you what to do, and then it was like, now taste it. So it was mayo, but it looked like whipped cream. So
Fluffy.
I took a huge dollop of it right into my mouth.
Pow, right in the kisser.
Boy, it was not pleasant. It was like greasy and tangy and all the sorts of things that I wasn't expecting from whipped cream. So I thought I hated mayo. It wasn't until maybe high school that I had a burger with mayo on it, and I was like, oh, what? Right. Gotcha. Burgers are supposed to be good.
You saw what the hype was about. You're like, no wonder white people love this stuff.
I'm telling you, man, I don't know how you get a hamburger without mayo on it. I just don't know how. I don't know how, like, the combo of mayo with a burger and some cheese, it's just, you bite into that, all those things come together so perfectly. I couldn't have a sandwich without mayo. I can't imagine a lot of things without mayo now. But this was the earliest example of a huge turnaround in my head of just like, oh, I realized that when I was a kid, I had a negative association with this thing. It wasn't that I hated it. It was that it wasn't whipped cream when I tasted it.
Okay, all right. It sounds like me and my movie opinions.
I wanted this to be whipped cream, but it was mayo.
So what you're telling me is that Anna and the Apocalypse was really more like mayonnaise when I wanted it to be whipped cream. That's what you're telling me.
Yes,
I get it.
I'm telling you, mayonnaise is amazing.
And Anna and the Apocalypse was not as shitty as I said it was.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I'll say this, man. I get it. Like, even though I am not a mayo man myself, you can trick me into enjoying something if you label it as an aioli. And I realize how fucking stupid that is. But like, even up at like Stock and Barrel,
It's the
right?
same
Knoxville's
thing.
hottest burger place. I know it's the same thing. And it's just like, I read that Stock and Barrel puts a garlic aioli on a lot of their burgers, and I'm like, I guess I'll have some of that. Sure. I go light on it. I don't, put a ton on there. I use a little bit.
But are you
That's
going
good.
light on it because you're trying to maintain your hatred of mayo?
No. Okay. Legitimately, here's the thing. And this is like really gross, but sometimes I wonder if I just have more saliva than a lot of people do. Because a lot of times whenever I see people adding condiments to things, I'm just like, how wet do you need your food? Are you like a raccoon? Are most people like raccoons where they don't have saliva, so they need to soak their food to eat it? And I just wonder, like, I guess I'm more okay eating stuff that's drier than most people are comfortable
No.
with. Maybe I have more spit than
No.
usual. I don't know.
Mayonnaise tastes good. It tastes good, man. We're not putting it on there to lube up our food.
Food lube, it's called.
Yeah, we're putting it on there because we're like, I like this thing that tastes good. I want a bunch of it on there, and then we eat it.
I'm saying, man, maybe the way that like a lot of like, podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff like that start rolling out some signature products, like how Keith from
Right.
Try Guys has his chicken sauce.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you start putting out Hollywood Steve's Food Lube. That's your signature aioli. That way I'll eat it because I'm dumb like that.
I have made mayo from scratch several times, and I don't get like why restaurants do it. I really don't. Like making it from scratch does not make it better.
It's like a box cake where it's just like, you're doing a lot more work, but it's not really better.
Well, with box cake, I get it because box cake all has propylene glycol on it, and if you don't want to eat antifreeze, then don't eat box cake.
Speak
but
for
also,
yourself,
box
Steve.
cake does stay fresher longer and stays moister longer. So,
all right, well, you go out there in the cold and you go ahead and freeze, and meanwhile, me,
I'll be eating this box cake.
staying unfroze. You have fun.
But yeah, what is? I mean, there's always the argument between best foods and Hellman's and Duke's. What's the best mayo? This is obviously a very white person argument, but it's Duke's. Get
That's
yourself
the
some
one,
Duke's
huh?
mayo. It's better than anything you're gonna make at home. I make it better at home. No, you don't. Nobody will tell you. It's like when restaurants hand cut their fries, but they don't soak them to get starch out or brine them or freeze them or anything. It's like, oh, these are better because they're hand cut. No, they're worse because you don't know what you're doing. Frozen are better than these.
I'll tell you what's gonna fucking impress me. If I go to a place and I see they have foot cut fries, I'm like, well, I gotta try those.
Yeah, let's see what this is all about.
What if you went to a place and it was tentacle cut fries? I'd be like, wait, what? I gotta try these. Tentacles?
Y'all got an octopus back there?
Y'all got Cthulhu back there cutting your fries up? What? I gotta find out about it. Mouth cut fries? Good. Maybe somebody just takes a potato and bites pieces out of it and spits them out. Just mama birds them into the oil. I gotta find out. Mouth cut fries coming soon.
Mouth cut fries. All right. So this one is a more recent change. Ben, I used to hate all wireless accessories.
Okay, I get it, man. I totally get it. Yep, I was totally the last person to come around to a wireless earbud. And honestly, I don't love the ones I have. I have the what are they called? Earbuds.
Oh, yeah, the Apple ones.
Yeah, and it's like if you smile, emote, move your face in any way,
they fall out.
They fucking fall out, yes. Yeah. But a wireless accessory, a lovely thing. Please continue.
Yeah, so for me it started when, as a kid, I needed another controller because the NES that my granny bought me only came with one controller.
Yep.
And my sister and I wanted to play. And my mom went to go get a controller, and what she came back with was a wireless controller. And let me just tell you, in the 80s, wireless shit didn't work.
No bueno.
It just didn't work. It just never worked. So she took that back, came back with a wired controller. I just refused to do stuff wireless after that for a long time because I was like, it's inferior. It's always going to be inferior. There's never going to be any way it's going to work the same level as a wired product. Even all throughout playing Call of Duty online and stuff, I always played with a wired controller. Just obsessed with always having an actual wired connection to things. And finally, I got a Mac with a Bluetooth keyboard and a Bluetooth mouse.
Yeah.
And aside from the fact that the Bluetooth mouse only charges on the bottom, so you can't possibly fucking use it while it's charging.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. I don't have to worry about the wires ever, etc. That's nice. So then I went and got Bluetooth headphones finally and was like, yeah, okay. I get the value of this. And finally, I'm just playing with a wireless controller on my Xbox, and it's all right, it's all good now. I just had a childish, hatred because of one experience in the 80s. But I don't know, man. I think we're going to get back to wires eventually, because they're going to make wires look cool. Right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you think back to those early Apple iPod commercials, those white wires on the earbuds were like a look. So
yeah,
you're not wrong there.
I'm saying they're gonna come out with silly wires, and kids are gonna be like, "We love silly wires," and then a kid is gonna get strangled with a silly wire, and then they'll get banned, but that'll make them cool for the older kids, and then I'm just telling you, wires are coming back. It's going to be the cyberpunk wire look.
I think I've actually seen that Black Mirror episode with the silly wires. Pretty sure.
Silly wires.
All right, did you cancel your subscription to Wired magazine as well?
I was like, fuck this in the 80s.
I'll tell you what, though, man. I'm pretty sure that those early crappy wireless peripherals that we used back in the day were actually manufactured by Big Wire as a smear campaign against the oncoming wireless revolution. I'm pretty sure.
They knew what was coming, and they probably delayed it by 8 to 10 years by just pissing us all off when we were kids.
Yeah, that's right, man. That's right. Yeah, I get that, because I was also resistant to that wireless revolution there, and even to this day, I've still never owned a wireless unit for guitar where I can just like wirelessly perform, you know?
I can see why that would be a problem. Like, in my mind, I feel like when you're going for particular tone and stuff, you want to know there's a direct connection, and the quality of the connection is not going to be affected by radio waves in the air around you.
Okay, so here's an interesting thing, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that is a common concern. And even with some bands that I played with on tour and stuff, you know, if you're playing at a place where, like, I remember playing at one spot where my side of the stage was right next to, like, the fuse box and stuff for the venue, and, like, if I stepped within 5 feet of it, my wireless pack on my ears would cut out completely, and I couldn't hear what I was playing. So you do have problems with that, and there are, I know guitar players listen to this podcast, so this is going to be guitar nerd talk for a second. I know that, like, the common thing is, like, there's some tonal change that happens when you go wireless. There's high-end roll-off and stuff like that. But one of the best-kept secrets of some of the most legendary tone of all time is from a wireless unit. And this seriously is one of the best-kept secrets ever, and I didn't know about this until actually one of my students, Matthew, who plays for an awesome AC/DC cover band in the Massachusetts area, he told me about this thing. Back in the day, all of those like classic AC/DC tones, which some of the most like legendary sought-after guitar tones ever, were recorded using this wireless unit. It's like this tower thing, and there's a company now owned by a guy that goes by Solo Dallas that makes these wireless units that are exact copies of what they were using back in the day. And like the guys in Aerosmith started using them. I think the guys in Boston started using them. Like a lot of people started using this wireless unit because of the fact that I think to compensate for the fact that there usually is this like high-end roll-off and stuff like that that happens with a wireless box, they engineered it so that it would boost everything whenever you used it. It's almost like it overdrives the front of an old amp and stuff like this. So all of those classic like back and black tones and all that you've heard your whole life were even recorded in the studio using this wireless box. It actually made the tone better.
Wow.
So there you go, man. Turns out there's some good stuff to say about going wireless. I get it, Steve. I get it.
So what else you got on your list?
So the next one that I had on my list, my number 2 right here, is actually some of the stuff we were just treading on right there when we were talking about the foods, because I know that even though there are a handful of things that I've disliked my entire life, see ketchup, mustard, a lot of things like that, the majority of the stuff that I love now, I'm not going to say the majority, a lot of the things that I love now and eat all the time used to be things that I hated. I used to hate IPAs. Like whenever I had IPAs the first time.
Oh, yeah. Same.
Fucking hated them. I used to hate beer of any kind until I went.
Beer.
Yeah. Well, it's like that changed whenever I went on tour, and the venue would give you a case of beer, and that was it. If you wanted to buy liquor, you'd have to buy it yourself. And of course, I had no money to buy liquor. I'm touring with a heavy metal band in a van, so I had to learn to like beer, and I developed a taste for that. I used to hate vegetables. I used to hate all kinds of stuff, man. Like as a kid, it was like pasta, rice, chicken fingers, plain meat, like plain. I just wanted plain stuff. And I've probably told this story before. I basically just wanted to not look like a picky little bitch eating food that my girlfriend, now my wife, was preparing for me, making an omelet full of like peppers and stuff like this, peppers and tomatoes, all this stuff I didn't eat. I didn't want to look like an awkward little geek that didn't want to eat that stuff. So I tried eating it, and it got pretty good to me. And here I am now, loving a lot of stuff. I still am pickier than most people. I absolutely realize that. But even stuff like, man, I used to not eat hot stuff. I used to not eat anything that was remotely vinegary. There's a lot that changes. That's one of those things that you do hear that, oh, your taste buds change over time. And I never believed that. I just kind of always thought that I would eat the way that I ate, and that's it. But, due to necessity, due to making myself try things, I have expanded my palate greatly. And it's just one of those things that I never thought would happen because I was so fucking picky back in the day. Like, if you think I'm bad now, I mean, back in the day, I wouldn't eat anything, man. So,
yeah, no, you just described it, and I was like, God, that would be so hard as a parent.
Dude,
can
I
you
know.
imagine?
Well, and that's the thing, too, is like back in the day, like I know a lot of really spoiled kids, their parents would like make them a separate meal or whatever.
Right.
The lay of the land in my house was like, if you don't like what mom's cooking, you can cook something else yourself. So that led to, you can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or you could, I could, boil water and make pasta for myself. And that's when that started, which in a way is kind of good. That's how I started learning how to cook.
Sure. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it really made me limit my food vocabulary. But it's because I was so picky, I didn't want to eat whatever it was that mom made. So, yeah, man, it's crazy, the stuff that I could have missed out on, all the flavor sensations that wouldn't have been in my life if I didn't expand. And I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, wait, like, does your hatred of most fast food places stem from childhood, or is that a more recent development?
I'm going to say that's probably more recent, honestly, because, like, as a kid, I could go pretty much anywhere and get a plain burger or a plain chicken, which is, like, nowadays I think about it and I'm like, holy fuck, like, you couldn't get me to eat a burger without lettuce and tomato and some garden on there, but back in the day that was just the norm. So yeah, I think it's more recent where I'm just like, oh man, that stuff's just fucking poison for the most part, so I avoid it.
Well, that's interesting. I had always assumed that maybe you were like, as a kid, well, though I guess even today you can still get something for every kid, like even the pickiest kid, as you said, will go for a plain hamburger or something.
A chicken nugget. Yeah. That was me as a kid.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Is there anything that you like would not touch other than mayo when you were a kid that you like now that you were just repulsed by?
Yeah, I mean, this was a real quick turnaround, but like I didn't like cheese when I was little. I didn't like anything yellow. Like yeah, but that was like I got over that when I was like 6. So it wasn't very long. I didn't like fish, or at least I thought I didn't like fish.
Yeah, that's most people.
And this is actually an interesting conversion to fish, because the fish that, growing up, the fish that was always in the house was, my grandfather went fishing, and he would catch, crappie and bluegill.
Yep, that's right.
And then fry that up, and it's not great.
Yeah, I've had some fried crappie that was okay, but usually it's
okay.
It tastes like how a lake smells.
Yeah, that was it. And also it would be fried and greasy and and like that. And like, I know a lot of kids love fried and greasy, but I didn't like shit getting on my hands, and greasy food is, gonna get all over your hands. So as a kid, I just didn't think I liked fish. And then kind of like you were saying with Kate, where you were like, I don't want to appear like overly picky or whatever. My friend Charles, I think I was 18 by this point. My friend Charles was like, we're going to go get sushi. And I was like, well, okay, because I want to go hang out with everybody. And then, we get there, and our friend John had been there several times, and he was like, here's the best stuff to get. And I was like, okay, I'll get that. And got it. And it was like California roll and nigiri and a few other things. And I tried the California roll first because the nigiri looked scary.
Yeah.
And tried that California roll, and I was like, this is pretty good, man. This is all right. And then I started trying other stuff. The nigiri finally got to it, and I was like, okay, this is dope. Where has this been? this whole time. I really got into fish after that. Now I eat salmon once to twice a week. Just I limit it because I don't want to get too much mercury, but I would eat it every single day if I
No
could.
doubt, man.
It's
After that experience, were you like 18 and fish just started?
Yes.
18 and fish, I had a similar experience,
fish
though,
binge,
dude. Because like right whenever I started, again trying to disguise the fact that I was being a picky eater, which was just causing me stress and embarrassment for the most part in my life. I had some friends that I worked with at Walmart, Lee Bradley, and I think Sarah Shorter. Maybe somebody else was there, but I think it was just those two. And, they're like, hey, there's like a sushi place in Morristown now. We should go check it out. And so, again, I didn't want to appear uncool, so I went with them. And, yeah, kind of the same deal. I think I probably had like a California roll and just some really basic stuff. But, like, dude, at that point, eating something with avocado in it or cucumber in it was adventurous to me. So it's like, even though, California roll is like novice sushi 101, for me, that was even still an adventure at that point. And also sushi is, again, one of those areas where I started having a little bit of mayo on stuff because a lot of sushi rolls have a little bit.
That's
and
right.
Like, I'm okay with that. Bring it on. So maybe there's hope for me yet.
Yeah, definitely. That is one of the things I'm always surprised by, the things that you don't like, because the things that you do like are far more adventurous than the things that you don't like.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's, but whatever. I mean, cool. So this is my last one, Ben,
right.
And this is I'm opening up my heart, people. I'm revealing myself
Holy
here,
shit,
and
look
I am
out.
apologizing. I'm coming to you.
I'm coming
hands
out.
on my knees. Hands on my knees. That's how you apologize.
Yep.
Coming to you, hands on my knees, feet in the air, just tongue akimbo.
Hair parted sideways. What?
Hair parted sideways, the way you do when you apologize. Ben, I didn't used to care for Dolly Parton. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry, y'all. I wanted to reveal this when you were talking about dad music and mom music. This was music that for some reason, I don't remember my grandparents listening to or my mom listening to Dolly Parton growing up.
Interesting.
And the only people I knew who listened to them were dumb. And I didn't realize until I got older and started listening to Dolly and listening to those lyrics and realizing, oh, the dumb people had it right. I was wrong. I was way wrong.
Yeah.
I remember saying to my pal Jackson one time that I thought the Whitney Houston version of I Will Always Love You was better, and he looked at me with such shock. And I think his opinion of me lowered about 50% that day.
Wow.
And he was right to do it. He was right to do it. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Ben, here's what happened.
I'm glad you've come around. I'm glad that you come around.
This happened the other night. I didn't even remember my Dolly dislike. I said hatred. It wasn't a hatred. It was just like I didn't like Dolly Parton and didn't think about her.
Yeah.
At all. But I thought about it the other night when I was listening to Jolene and just like my mind being blown by these lyrics. But it really hit me how wrong I was. Just a couple nights ago, I was listening to 9 to 5.
Oh, yeah.
And I want, like, here's the problem. Is that dumb people do listen to Dolly Parton. A lot of real dumb people do listen to Dolly Parton and don't know what she's saying to them. Listen, the lyrics of those are communist lyrics. Dolly Parton takes down capitalism.
It's true,
in a happy little ditty.
Yeah. Just a little toe tapping tune.
They just use your mind and you never get the credit, she says.
Yeah. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it.
It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. The Comrade Dolly is without a doubt one of the saints of Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely love her. I'm sorry as a child I was stupid. I'm sorry I did not realize. Dolly, please, I apologize. Please forgive me.
Take me back, Dolly. Take me back. You know she will
Dolly.
too, man. Dude, I'll tell you what, just in general, if you ever find yourself on the opposite side of Dolly, you're probably on the wrong side of history. Like, she has done so much, man, especially for any kind of like disaster relief in Tennessee. She has anonymously donated millions of dollars. She's donated tons of money to education. There is so much that she has done that she doesn't like go out and do a photo op and tweet about it and take credit for it and be like, look at me, I'm doing good stuff. Like, no, she just does good because that's what you should do, especially if you're in an opportunity to help people. Dolly's helped a lot of fucking people.
She sure has. She sure has.
You know, just so that you don't feel ashamed about your former dislike of Dolly, I'm going to drop 2 on you that are also personal shames of mine. This is unrelated to my list, but I just don't want you to feel like you're alone in the cold out there. I know you're cold because you didn't eat any boxed cake mix, so you're out there freezing.
Yep.
I used to not like Willem Dafoe.
Oh.
Isn't that weird? Like, I used to not like that guy.
Weird, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Like, what? I can get seeing Willem Dafoe and being a little weirded out by him.
He's a weird looking guy.
Not liking him.
Well, here's the thing.
He's so strange. He's intense.
Very. But I think it all comes around to, I think one of the first movies I saw with him in it was the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Where he was the Green Goblin, right?
Uh-huh.
And in my head, as you know, very, very, very into comic book Ben at that time, I was like, that's not what Green Goblin looks like. This guy looks weird. He looks crazy. I don't like this guy because he doesn't look like the comic book. It was expectation, man. Really fucked with me with that guy. And it made me, I think, just like generally irritated by him until I saw him in a lot of other stuff. And I was like, oh, what the fuck's the matter with me? Willem Dafoe's the shit.
He's
awesome.
Yeah.
But there for a long time, I didn't. And here's one, too. Oh, man. Am I ever going to get an earful about this one? Because this is something.
Let's hear it.
I don't even know if I've confessed to my wife.
Oh, no.
And there's probably a good reason for that because she's probably going to slap me on the bottom in a bad way whenever she hears this.
Oh, in a bad... I was like, all right, so it's going to get sexy? Okay.
I used to not like Tim Curry.
Okay.
I used to not like Tim fucking Curry.
From why?
I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know. I don't... Because like, as a kid, I saw him in Home Alone 2.
Right. Okay,
and
so he's not... I mean, is he dislikable in that? He's just kind of Tim Curry in that.
I know, right? And then I saw him in The Shadow.
Okay.
Where he's kind of like cuckoo nutty and stuff.
Right.
For some reason, I did not like the guy. Like, honestly, I don't know why. I can't even put my finger on any single event that would make me dislike Tim Curry. But for a while, did not enjoy that guy. And then suddenly it just clicked, and I'm like, oh, no, he's the fucking best. Tim Curry's a treasure.
Yeah.
But there for a while,
that one's...
didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Like with Willem Dafoe, I was like, I guess I could see him being off-putting from the beginning. But Tim Curry, I don't get that one. That one's definitely a tough one because he was in a ton of stuff. But like Legend, we've talked about before.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, he was in It in 90. He was in Clue, though, which is the most important for me as a child because I watched it so many times and loved everybody in it.
Yeah.
So... yeah, that one is one for me. That's a leap. But I mean, look, these childhood things, you just don't know. You don't know why. Like, anything could have been going on in the moment when you first saw him or whatever. And as a kid, you associate the two.
Oh,
and
let's make it more interesting.
Sticks.
What if I was murdered in a past life by past life Tim Curry? That's more like it. That's got to be it. It's the only explanation.
But then you delved further into your past life and found out it was justified, and you're like, all right. Okay,
I was being kind of a dick, so.
Yeah, I was being an asshole.
Yeah, I get it, man. It's not on Tim Curry there. Well, man, I'm glad that you've come around to loving some Dolly. I think I also was probably a late in life like bloomer to like realizing how awesome she is, just because I didn't know shit from Dick back then, you know.
Well, we were in like, I guess the thing is like, if you're from this area, Dolly, like they talk about her a lot. You go to Dolly World, like
Dolly World.
Dolly World. Dollywood. You go to Dollywood, you know, as sort of a local vacation, but it's always like, as a kid for me, because Dollywood was local and we went there often, it felt less special. And was like, oh, this is like cheap Disney World. And now as an adult, I'd rather go to Dollywood than Disney World by far.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Especially now they got some sick coasters over there.
Yeah, and it just smells great there.
It does, right? It
smells awesome, yeah.
When are we going to get a Yankee Candle Dollywood smell? Because I would fucking burn that motherfucker down.
Yeah, it's that, like, wood burning, but also, like, they have the pork rind station with the, like...
sausage and peppers.
Yeah, oh, man, just
like,
so good.
Bring it, man. I want that smell.
Uh-huh.
All right, Steve, the last one that I have on my list... This is also more of a category than a singular thing. It encompasses a lot of things, but I think you'll get what I mean when I say, I used to not like being a heathen. Just a plumb heathen, Steve.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I liked being good. Now, I want to be evil. I don't want to be good. No, not really evil, honestly. Like,
no.
The thing is... Just the way that I grew up and with my mindset and my mentality, it's like, oh, you said a bad word? You should feel bad. Oh, you saw a boob? Maybe try feeling bad. And it's like, dude, life is so much better when you feel good. It's a good thing. As long as you ain't hurting nobody, just feel good. Drink you a cold beer. Smoke you a doobie. Whatever you want to do.
As a kid, I was cool with the cussing and seeing boobs, but, like, I did have this, like... just strong belief that sex was special.
Yeah.
As a kid, where it was like, no, you have to be very careful who you have sex with. And I think it had to do with, like, the AIDS education we got from, like, the moment you became sentient in the 80s. It was like, you're gonna get AIDS!
Well, plus we live in, like, the heart of abstinence-only equal sex education, which it doesn't.
Yeah. So, I now am the complete opposite. I'm like, no, just have sex and figure it out after that. Like,
be responsible about it. Make sure somebody else wants to have sex with you first.
Yeah, make sure you both want to have sex. Make sure you both don't want to have kids, so you're both using all the appropriate things to not have kids. Make sure you're clean. Put on a condom. Get it going, though.
Yeah, for real, man. Well, and it's one of those things, too, man, where, like, I vividly remember, you know, those moments where I smoked pot for the first time or got fucking hammered for the first time or lost my virginity or whatever. And it was all these moments where it's like, it's never going to be the same now. I've changed. And then you do it and you're like...
entity.
Yeah, then you do it and you're like, no change. That was fun.
Yeah, same dude. Just had fun for once.
Yeah, exactly. So
pulled
why
the
is
stick
this
out of
bad?
my little ass. Yeah.
For real, man. So, like, nowadays, I just love being a heathen, and... I feel bad about something if I do somebody wrong, which I try my best to not do, but nobody should feel bad about doing something that you should feel fucking good about.
I feel like embracing having fun and embracing doing, you know, the whatever is both fun for me and not harming anyone else.
Precisely.
Embracing that has definitely... made it far less likely that I will be insulting or mean to someone.
No doubt.
Like when you're that asshole who has a judgment about everything everyone's doing, you're being a dick most of the time.
Typically,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, so it's a whole lot easier when you're having a fun time to not also be a dick.
It really is. It really, really is. And I think that more people would have a good time if they just let go of a lot of that bullshit. So somebody wants to be gay. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who fucking cares? Like, all of this stuff is wrapped up in what I'm talking about, where it's like, man, the shit that we were taught to worry about as kids, it don't fucking matter.
It really doesn't. It doesn't. The world's changed, and for the better, by far, I
think.
Biden.
Hopefully... Thanks, Biden.
Well, he did it. Uncle Joe.
He changed everything.
He bombed Syria, and it fixed stuff.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm glad change is awesome. It's
a good thing, especially when it makes life for everybody else other than you better too. It's a good thing.
Yeah, 100%.
So yay for being a heathen. Yay for growing and enjoying things that you used to not enjoy. Just like our homegirl, K-Stew, what stars in Underwater, the subject of today's episode. Steve, when did you see this movie a first time?
Around the time that it hit on demand. Because I heard, there were obviously a lot of bad reviews. It's sitting at like 50-ish% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Really?
Which doesn't even, like, Rotten Tomatoes, like, a positive review can still be full of negative. So, like, anyway. But the people that I follow on Twitter that write about horror that I actually listen to liked it. And so I checked it out as soon as I could. I like Kristen Stewart, and seemed interesting premise to me, and I got way into it pretty quickly because it doesn't give you time to be bored.
No, not at all, man. There is really no dead space in this movie whatsoever.
Yeah,
I watched this the first time maybe like a month and a half, 2 months ago, something like that. It hit streaming and stuff, and I was like, we might as well give this a try. I heard it's kind of like a underwater, obviously, like Cthulhu movie, and I was like, okay, count me in. I got to find out about that. I believe that you had told me that you watched it and you enjoyed it too. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those nights where, I think we'd had some food and we were like, let's watch a movie before we go to bed. What do you want to watch? I don't know. I heard this is okay. And we put it on, and we were both just like, man, I'm really enjoying this. This is fucking cool. It's one of those that I didn't really have any expectations for because I hadn't heard much about it from other people other than you. So my expectations were very neutral. So going into it, it's like we watched it and it was like, man, this really gets right to the point. This has some really great effects in it. I love the subject matter and the setting, and I really, really dug it. So whenever we decided to do it for the show, I was already excited to watch it again, even though it had only been maybe 6 or 7 weeks since the first time that I saw it. Because I knew that I would enjoy it, and I knew it wouldn't take up a whole night to watch. It's a pretty brief movie.
It's pretty quick, yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to relive some of those particular scenes in this movie that stand out to me. So I was excited to do it again, man, even though I just saw it for the first time pretty recently. I think it's pretty badass, man. Now, this movie was actually made, I think, in 2017, right?
It was filmed, they finished filming in May of 2017. So you got to think of post-production is definitely going to be a bit, because they, have to include all of the sea creatures, the deep ones in Cthulhu. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, it should have been out at least by 2018, I would think.
For sure.
But there were basically there's some issues I couldn't really drill down to exactly what was going on. One of the issues may have been that T.J. Miller, the accusations of assault, sexual assault, came out about him from 2000 or 2001.
Okay, see, I didn't know about any of this stuff. Like, I saw in some reviews where people are like, oh yeah, this came out before T.J. Miller flushed his career down the toilet. And I was like, what are they talking about? Because I hadn't heard about any of this. That's the deal?
Right. Well, that happened in late 2017.
Okay.
So that's around the time they may have been considering releasing it, and probably one of the reasons it got pushed off. He has since had other problems. I mean, he had issues with, I didn't get the full extent, but definitely harassing his female coworkers on Silicon Valley.
Not cool.
Yeah. So anyway, he's had other issues that may have continually delayed it, but also Disney was in the process of buying 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
And this is a 20th Century Fox movie, so maybe some of that was a bit of the delay. And
suddenly they have this horror movie in their hands. They're like, we don't know what to do with this.
Right, but then they also released a movie with a $50 to $80 million budget. Couldn't get a clear figure on that. They released it in January, which is the graveyard. Like, that's where you dump big movies that you don't think have a chance.
Yeah, totally.
So they pretty much didn't think it had a chance anyway, and it made $40 million. But again, it came out in January of 2020 when a pandemic was already raging in China.
Yeah. Everybody's attention was kind of elsewhere, huh?
A lot of ticket sales come from China, so this may have done a lot better were it not for the pandemic. But it also, it had so many delays on it because, I think, probably because of TJ Miller's presence. Yeah, he's kind of fucked his career entirely.
What a dummy.
I don't know. It's unfortunate because he is funny.
Yeah,
TJ
totally.
Miller is funny. He's obviously, like, in this, he's the source of any bit of levity.
Yeah,
nobody else
definitely
is
the comic
funny.
relief. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone else is deadly serious about it, as you would be, and that's entirely understandable. And of course, at least one person would probably have that gallows humor type of thing going on.
I'll tell you what, though, man, this blows my mind because now I'm starting to think, like, what are you doing here? You're saying that, like, comedians have problems? They're funny. They're supposed to be fun and in a good mood all the time. This is kind of rearranging my universe here.
Yeah, it's almost like people use humor to mask a lot of darkness sometimes.
Impossible.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never heard of the like. But we also got, we got K-Stu in here kicking ass. She's been acting since she was 8 years old. She knows what she's doing. We got Vincent Cassell, who you probably know from stuff. Like, if you're looking at him, Ben had this, like, I know that guy from Thing type of thing.
Totally.
He's in Oceans 12 and 13. He's in Brotherhood of the Wolf. He's in Eastern Promises. He's in Black Swan. The guy shows up all over the place.
Let me ask you this.
And plays a French guy all the time.
Okay, that's literally what I was going to ask. He looks French. Is he French?
He is very French, yeah.
I knew it, dude. Like, you can just look
Yeah.
at the guy and be like, oh, yeah, you're definitely French. I don't even know what it is about him, but he just looks like somebody who'd be from France. Put a beret on that guy.
But yeah, very French. We got Mamadou Ati, who plays Rodrigo, who meets a very violent end, as does TJ Miller. John Gallagher Jr., Liam Smith, he was in 10 Cloverfield Lane and The Belko Experiment, so 2 other movies we'll see him in.
I guess that's where I recognize her from, is 10 Cloverfield Lane. Man, that movie's so cool.
Yeah, it's really good, yeah. Jessica Henwick, Emily. Yeah. I have a particular affinity to pretty ladies named Emily, so I was enamored with her character. I thought she was great. And she turns out to be, kind of like she's kind of the underdog protagonist. Like, she's the one who we're kind of rooting for at the end because she's drug her dying boyfriend across the bottom of the ocean, and like, this isn't even her thing. She's just a research assistant. Like, she's faced all her fears.
Yeah.
Whereas, Kristen Stewart's doing that too, and she is definitely our protagonist, but Emily's like this secondary protagonist that's also going through all the same things and being tough when she never expected to be in this situation.
Oh yeah, and like I said, literally having to drag her dude across the fucking floor of the ocean.
Yeah, insane. But you may remember her as one of the Sand Sisters from Game of Thrones.
There we go. I knew her from something, man. Like, I was like, I know her face from something that I've seen.
Yeah, she's got a number of credits. She's also in The Force Awakens briefly too. But yeah, that's the one that stood out to me. Like, oh right, that's who that is. And that's the entirety of the cast, other than a voice that we hear on a recording. Like, that is the whole cast.
Yeah, pretty tight, man. Pretty tight cast in this, and I can't say that anybody sucks. I think everybody does
they nail
a good job, and they're very believable in this flick, man. And here's the thing about this. One of the biggest complaints that I saw about this movie from people that don't like it is that the characters lack depth. Like, they didn't get enough out of them. It's like, you didn't have the guy who's a hothead. You didn't have the one guy that's the chef and the guy who's the pyrotechnics expert. Like, you didn't have all these super over-the-top cliches of characters is one of the big negative things that I heard about this movie. And it's like, well, dude, if you're talking about people who have lived their lives and worked and studied enough to be working at this fucking research drilling thing at the bottom of the fucking ocean, yeah, they're there to work. They're people that are like engineers and surveyors and
Yeah.
not over the top crazy cliche character types.
Also, here's a flaw. When you have a villain that is an extra dimensional being that has an army of aquatic humanoid fishmen, you don't need internal struggle for there to be fear, especially when you're at the bottom of the fucking ocean.
Yeah.
Also, when would they ever have time for any of that? When would they ever sit down to do that? The fact that the movie runs at a brisk pace and continues to have action moment to moment is why I like it.
Me too.
If it stopped constantly to be like, actually, let's argue about this decision, it would be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, or let's have flashbacks to my time before I was an engineer at the bottom of the ocean.
Right. Like, that would be so ridiculous. You would not get anything out of it either. Like, it would just be like a frustration keeping you from dealing with the actual issue of being at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Let me just describe what that would be kind of like. If you were to put Mount Everest at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, it would still be over a mile away from the surface of the water.
Holy shit.
Sitting in a room right now, you're sitting in a room, there's about 14.7 pounds per square inch of force on your body.
Okay.
14.7 pounds doesn't feel like much of anything.
Mm-mm.
If you were at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, which
you
as
might
it says,
be a redneck.
That's
where that's going,
redneck,
right?
by God. If you were at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, which is, as I say, 7 miles down, it's actually 6.825 or something like that. But if you're that far down, you can say 7. The atmospheric pressure is 16,000 pounds per square inch.
That sure is a lot.
That would be like 2,600 pounds sitting on your fingernail.
Jesus. Ouch. I wouldn't like that.
So the absolute vast nothingness of the ocean is sitting on top of you, and your complaint is the characters weren't developed enough. It's
seriously.
Like, are you not feeling constant fear in this movie? Because I am.
Yeah, right?
It's like so nerve-wracking.
I bet you these same people that made these complaints were the same people that didn't like Rogue One for the same reason, where they're like, there wasn't enough over-the-top hijinks in Rogue One. It's like, well, no shit. Like, both of these movies are about ordinary people who end up in extraordinary situations and get ground up in the gears. That's just what this is.
Yep.
I was telling you while we were planning this out, like, I feel like most of people's complaints about this movie are them just wanting it to be fucking Disney's Atlantis instead. And you can just go watch that if you want to.
And that movie exists, yeah.
And
so
it's
you
good.
Can go check that out.
Mean,
it's good.
Just
yeah,
go
it's
and have
fun.
a good time to watch that.
Watch Atlantis. Yeah, this is a movie, about people put in an extraordinary situation with a very small amount of time to do anything in a very small window of possibility of escape.
Yeah.
There is no time.
No, And one thing that I really like about it too is like, and again, I want to cover all the Alien comparisons. I want to talk about that too. But one thing that I think makes this movie cool is that unlike Alien, where you catch up with this ship full of people that have been together for quite a while on this mission, in this, you have people from different departments of this whole operation just running into each other. Like, they don't know each other. They're like, what do you do?
The stragglers that happen to survive, that happen to be able to get away in the right moment and not get crushed by the
dude,
unfathomable amount of pressure that would be. I can't imagine. It would be so quick. You'd die so quick, but it would hurt in that brief moment.
And dude, that's the thing, man, is like, you got to think an operation of this scale is going to involve hundreds of people. Yeah. And it's going to involve people that are never going to come into contact with each other. Dude, like when I worked at Walmart, like I didn't know the guys that were fucking cutting meat in the butcher shop. Like,
Right.
that's just how these situations are. So, like, I think it makes it more interesting that these characters are coming together and not knowing each other inside and out. Like, they don't know really anything about each other. They just know we have to survive and try to get through this. I think that makes it better, honestly.
Yeah, there's a total dependence on each other that they had to recognize before even going there.
Yeah. You know, let's talk about the alien comparisons here, because again, this is one of the biggest complaints that I see about this movie is people being like, well, unlike Alien, it didn't do this, or it did this, and that's just like Alien, blah, blah, blah. Kate and I were talking about this earlier because she liked the movie a lot too, and okay, here's the deal.
Yeah.
When you really start getting down to it, there's so many stories that you could just be like, well, yeah, that's just like that other story. Like, every romantic comedy is the same fucking movie.
Oh, they're all just like every romantic comedy, yeah.
Yeah, like, you could say at its core, The Shining is like a lot of other haunted house movies. What's your
definitely.
fucking point?
Yeah. So what?
So what?
Yeah,
exactly.
like, there are
man.
only a few ways to tell stories, and there are only a few stories to tell. Isn't it about the individual humanity of each story and the individual ways in which each story plays out? Like, that,
For real.
we're being entertained. We're not, like, well, I mean, what unique story is it that people want to happen?
For real,
I
man,
don't
right?
know. Like, it isn't the point of a horror movie, especially an action horror movie like this, to make you feel a sense of dread throughout and to make you feel like excited for all of the action that's happening. And this does that constantly for me. Like,
Oh, yeah.
when they're getting, like, when I want to break this down real quick. The first 23 minutes of this movie, Ben, in the first 19 minutes of the movie, we've already been introduced to the entire situation, given an entire, like, full sense of the stakes. We've been introduced to all of the characters. Within 2 minutes of all of the characters meeting, the entire group dynamic is established. The necessity of the journey is made clear. And then another minute laying out the plan. And then the danger's reestablished by the gurgling noise and a crashing of the room. And then they're off to put on suits and get out into the bottom of the ocean. 23 minutes.
That's brisk.
They've done all of it. And it's never stopped. It's been motion. Like, it is amazingly quick and tight and does exactly what you want an action horror movie to do. And then when they put those suits on, and like, the way they portray it is so perfect. Like, the way Emily is kind of a little hyperventilating, and TJ Miller's character Paul, like, he's pouring water over himself. Like, those suits would be hot and tight and claustrophobic. Like, honestly, there'd be no such suit. Like, you need about 5 inches of steel,
Sure,
to protect yourself from the pressure at that level. So those suits wouldn't even be that light. But, like, the way they portray that, I started getting this sort of, like, hyperventilating feeling, and feeling like, oh my god, once they go down there, that's it. Like, you're down there.
Yeah.
There's no, like, oh, let's turn back, or like, you're down there. You're at the bottom of the ocean. You are at the mercy of everything.
No kidding, man. No kidding.
And then immediately as they're going down the elevator, the first person dies. Like, and it's violent as shit.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like the movie doesn't take a second ever. And I am with you. I don't get the criticisms. I get watching this movie and seeing comparisons with other movies, but it's like, here's the thing. You're a 45-year-old movie reviewer, and you're like, Alien's the best movie that was ever made, because when I saw it, I was 5.
Yeah, I saw it as a kid, yeah. I've known this movie my whole
it's
life.
Like, Alien just came out of nowhere. It was built whole cloth by a genius man who must have flown from the skies and had no inspirations. Like, it's ridiculous. Yes, it pays homage to Alien. Yes, it pays homage to The Thing, and it pays homage to a million other action movies and horror movies of the time of the 80s and 90s. But it's 2020, y'all. That shit's old.
Yeah, dude. There's
This
people
is
that
new
were
shit.
in the theater watching this because they like Kristen Stewart that have never fucking seen alien that wouldn't know it if Sigourney Weaver was sitting in the seat fucking next to them.
Right. And if they do see Alien now, they'll be like, oh, I get it. Wow, this is really cool. This is like underwater, but like, you know, tenser.
Yeah,
it's just
I get it, man.
Yeah,
I mean, you know,
like,
it's totally
that thing?
It's totally that Greta Van Fleet thing where it's just like, wow, they sound like Led Zeppelin. Also, a lot of kids listening to them have never heard Led Zeppelin, so maybe this will get them to go back and listen to fucking Led Zeppelin. Cool.
Yep.
That's a win-win for me, you know?
Yep. And if they don't go back and listen to Led Zeppelin, what are they really missing? They got it, right? Through Greta Van Fleet.
Well, I don't exactly know about that. I don't know if I go that far, but you know.
I mean, obviously it's a different version, but it's like, do we always have to like revere the past? Can we not just like be like, okay, this is the new version of that, and if you don't listen to the old version, okay, who gives a shit? Like, it's just like I guess my life, I really don't want to ever be that old guy's like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't like that. It's like, no, they do get it. You don't get it, old guy.
They got it and they moved on, right?
Right.
But this movie is self-aware enough to know, yes, people are going to compare this to Alien. Yes, we have a claustrophobic team of people that are on a mission dealing with an unknown creature that's attacking them. Yes, that's kind of alien-y. And they obviously put it in the movie where you have stuff like, you have some low-rise briefs in the movie. How about that?
Yeah, she's walking around those low-rise. But again, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, it's hot in them things. Jesus.
Yeah, it's hot, and the pants wouldn't even fit, because again, they're super tight.
Exactly.
To go into this being like, I'm going to be in this, and I'm going to go full force, and I'm going to walk around in a tiny little underwear and t-shirt combo, and people are going to be judging me for being too thin or not being thin enough, and like, to just put herself out there and be like that throughout the movie, and for it's not meant to be sexy.
I was gonna say, yeah, I never really got the vibe right there that in this movie they were trying to like really over-sexualize her, or like, or put that in there for that reason,
right?
And yeah, there's other Alien homages in there. There's that part where they capture like the little young kind of what are they called? Deep one, like the little young deep one that they like flop down on that white like backlit table. Like that's literally
that's
exactly like
Alien.
Alien, where they put the face hugger on the thing. Like
exactly,
it's self-aware. It's not saying
it is.
I'm the most original movie that's ever been made. You never seen anything like this.
No, it's not trying to be that.
I feel like they knew people were going to compare it to Alien. And here's the thing about it, man. And again, like this is from me wading through a bunch of negative YouTube reviews and IMDb reviews and stuff like that. It's just such a total catch-22 where, you know, this one guy's review that I watched, it was a super in-depth thing. He went in being like, oh, yeah, it's really trying to be a lot like Alien, blah, blah, blah. Unlike Alien, it didn't start with, you know, this day in the life of the crew, like how Alien starts with like 30 or 40 minutes of just like normal stuff with this crew. The guy was complaining about that.
We learn who all the characters are. There's a lot of downtime with them.
Exactly, yeah. And, like, this guy was critiquing it for that. But I feel like even if this movie would have started with that same scenario, that guy's review would have been, oh, they started out just like Alien, building character depth. What a bunch of morons. It's just like, there's no pleasing anybody if all you're going to do is compare this to some other movie that, it's like, okay, hostile environment, unknown creature, people on a job. That could describe a lot of fucking things. Yeah, seriously. It's like, it's the same thing. I mean, and honestly, you were talking about Alien being made in this vacuum. No, it wasn't. Ridley Scott said it was Jaws in space.
Exactly. Exactly the point. Yeah, like it's none of these movies have ever come out of like someone's mind whole cloth. They're always drawing from other things.
Yeah.
And this is just drawing from that. Is it very similar? Sure. Was Aliens very similar to Jaws? If you look at it, right? Yeah. And they were much closer in timeline. This is 40 years later.
No shit, right?
Yeah.
Give it a damn break, man. Yeah, because I just think you're just going to fail as soon as you start trying to draw those comparisons. You'll either hate it because it's different than Alien, or you'll hate it because it's too similar to Alien. And I think that's just not really giving this thing a fair shot, because it is pretty fucking different, man. I mean, for one, we're kind of delving into using Earth as the setting rather than space. And this is one of those things, man, that to me is so fucking scary. The fact that they're at the bottom of the ocean. I hate the ocean. I hate large aquatic life. All these things freak me out. And the idea of being down at the depths of our own planet in the dark, not being able to see 10 feet away from my face, knowing that literally any malfunction in my suit or ship that I'm in could spell my instant demise is so terrifying. And here's the thing too, man, like using the planet Earth's oceans as opposed to outer space, the thing that's so fucking freaky about it to me is that you could be in a spaceship and fly around in deep space for a light year and not meet any living creature. Whereas if you're down at the depths of the ocean, it's teeming with life, and it's teeming with stuff that you've never seen that wants to eat you, and it's on our planet. Like, that to me is so fucking scary. Like, space is scary because it's unknown. The ocean is scary because I know that it's unknown. Like, I know there's stuff down there we don't know about, and that freaks the fuck out of me, man.
That's why, okay, so right after Rodrigo's suit implodes.
Brutal.
Which is so brutal, and just, like, can't imagine. Because, like, not only would it be shocking that it suddenly happened, but also, like, the impact of the explosion caused by his oxygen is huge and would have probably given them concussions. Like, and now you still have to do everything. Like, your brain is all fucked up. But she walks out on that platform right after that and just looks out, and it's nothingness.
Nothing there, dude.
Just black, empty nothingness. And it's the perfect moment of just this, like, right after the suit imploded, showing exactly how the pressure can be devastating. She also establishes the absolute darkness of it all. So, like, again, this movie is quickly doing everything very efficiently without the exposition.
Yep. And dude, again, that's another complaint that I saw from people. They're like, all the scenes where they're on the bottom of the seafloor, it's just too damn dark. You can't see what's going on. Like, should there have been a lamppost down there? What are you talking about? And it makes it better, dude. Like, the fact that they can't clearly see where they are, like, it's kind of that effect that you get whenever you're in a snowstorm, like a true snowstorm, where it's like you can turn left and not know that you're going to the left. Or if you're out, in the middle of the ocean and you lose your sense of direction.
Right.
This is that exact same way, where considering you can't even see the person that's walking in front of you, if you get separated, you're fucked. And that is so scary to me, dude.
Yes, it's frightening. I like, and that's the thing for me, is that every bit of this is frightening without the creatures. And then you add in the creatures.
Yeah.
And boy, that they do a very similar thing to Alien, where they take a long while to actually reveal the deep ones. I mean, we see the baby one, but we don't see a big one. And then an even longer while to reveal Cthulhu, which this is unexpected to me. I did not know exactly where this was going. I had heard this was Lovecraftian, but I did not know how that was going to happen. And when they went straight Cthulhu and the deep ones, it was just like, what? Wow. And also, like, it's like, that's just a small bit of the movie. Like, the fear of the movie isn't just that. Like, to go that hard and to also not make it the focus of the movie, like, how awesome Lovecraft was. Like, it really is just like, Lovecraft created these really cool monsters and we just used them. And that's it.
Yeah. And I love the fact that, like, I mean, the same way that we talked about, secret witch movies or secret cult movies, I don't know of a secret cosmic horror movie other than this one. Like, turns out it was Cthulhu. Although they never name him Cthulhu.
No.
Like, nobody out there is like, holy shit, H.P. Lovecraft was right. This is real. Like, it's never name dropped by anybody. I don't know if that means that in this universe, Lovecraft, the awesome author but horrible racist, that we shouldn't celebrate his personal ways in any way, shape, or form, which is why we call it cosmic horror.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know if that means in this universe he didn't exist, so they don't recognize that as Cthulhu, or if it's just that none of them knew what that was. I don't know.
I think they just this is a universe basically where they have no idea. I would love to. I know we're never gonna get a follow up to this, but I would love to have seen a follow up.
Me
maybe
too,
where
man.
they're explore that more. But that's just not gonna happen. But it is definitely something that we could have more of. Like and we're getting it. Well, no, again, it's all like everybody's going for Lovecraft. And we need more cosmic. Like Annihilation did cosmic horror pretty good. This does it more succinctly and more action-packed. I'd like to see more, like, instead of Richard Stanley doing Color Out of Space, Richard Stanley doing something in that vein, but not having to connect so hard to Lovecraft.
Yeah, I get that, man. And I totally do think that there is potential for sequels and building this world out and stuff, where we did have the 2 survivors that made it up to the top, and we did have the stuff in the credits that shows that TN Industries, which P.S. TN, Lovecraft TN, it's right there in the name, it shows that they're covering the whole thing up and resuming drilling. Like, imagine if there's a movie where we get the 2 survivors trying to, publicly expose this company for covering up the deaths of all these people that fought hard for them to make it to the surface, and then at the same time they unearth some other fucking horrible creature from the depths and it comes up to land. Like, you don't have to put it underwater. That'd be the same movie again. It can be on land, underwater part 2,
Absolutely. The deep ones can do that. Like, they have like a pact with humans at a certain point, and they're trying to create like a human deep one hybrid. And they also worship Hydra and Dagon as well. So you don't even have to bring Cthulhu back. Like, you can say, "Oh, he died."
Yeah, he got blown up. You saw
in this cosmic horror universe, they can die.
Yeah, I'm totally
But that
cool
does
with
kind of
that.
undercut them a little bit.
Well, that's the thing too about that character design, because I saw some people complaining that, well, it's kind of lame that the character designs of these, underwater creatures, they have legs. And it's like, if you lived at the bottom of the ocean, you wouldn't have legs. And it's like, that's because they're supposed to be able to go on land. Like, that's how unfathomable these creatures are. They can exist at the bottom of the ocean or come up on land and be powerful as fuck. Like, to me, the illogical nature of that design to give these things arms and legs makes it freakier to me.
Yes, I agree with that. And again, like, normally in Lovecraft's writing and in most cosmic horror, the horrors are representing this incomprehensible power that barely has any recognition of, if any at all, humans. They're not interested in our existence or non-existence, but just apathetic to us entirely. But that doesn't make for great horror movies. A horror movie kind of needs the villain to want to kill you.
Yeah.
Rather than simply existing and that being enough.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Jaws does it well. Like, man versus nature is a tale as old as time. Like, the completely impartial, uncaring nature of nature, if that makes sense, of animals and nature that don't care if you live or die. That's terrifying because that's something humans can't relate to.
And I think that's what this movie does a good job of, is portraying Cthulhu and the Deep Ones as simply being imposed on by these humans.
Yeah.
They are not like they're not like some massive force that's here to get back at the humans or whatever. It's just like, oh, they're in our way. We're just a force of nature in the ocean, and this is in our way.
I don't know, though, because whenever that one of the Deep Ones is attacking, I think it's Kristen Stewart, it does try to give her a Psycho Gorman-style hero's death and expands that jaw out and puts her whole bubble head in its mouth. He's trying to give her the hero's death.
That's true.
So I'm thinking he was about to swallow her up and just spit out all the blood like Psycho Gorman.
Is so good.
God damn it, it's so good, man. I love the character design in this, though, like the creatures and stuff, where they have this, like, rows and rows and rows of teeth and these, like, webbed hands, but at the same time, because of the darkness of underwater, you never get a clear view exactly of what you're looking at.
Right.
Like, you never really see Cthulhu full on. It's all these, like, what the fuck am I looking at? And that's the thing about it too, man. Like, if you're truly doing the cosmic horror thing, the way these cosmic entities look is supposed to just be unfathomable to the human mind.
Indescribable.
Yeah.
Like, they try to describe it, but it's always like, not enough is basically, the authors are always like mad that they can't describe the thing, and it's driving their insanity because they can't fully grasp it.
Yeah, and the way that this movie never really fully shows you what the creature looks like is for the better, because you're not supposed to be able to understand what it looks like. So there's a lot of shots in this where you see Cthulhu like way off in the distance. Like there's that one part where Kristen Stewart like shoots that flare off, and it just vaguely sort of lights up sort of a form, and you see
that was awesome.
Kind of eyes and teeth, but you're not really sure. Holy shit,
there
man.
are two. You can see that he has 2 eyes on that right side, so you assume 2 on the left side, so 4 eyes, I guess.
Yeah.
So he's a nerd.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Oh, my God, I didn't even think about that. He's probably got terrible allergies. He's probably down there at the bottom of the ocean to get away from all that pollen and stuff up top.
That's it.
I'll tell you what, though, now that I think about it, all that pressure you were talking about that's on them, that's how he built up them guns. Because, like, he's kind of jacked. He's kind of ripped.
Jacked.
And honestly, if you're talking about having 8 tons of pressure on you per square inch, dude, you do 1 push-up, you're set for life. You're shredded.
Goku learned about this. We all know.
It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. So working out under there, boy, it don't take much to get shredded. Tell you that. I bet whenever he gets up to the surface, he gets lazy and starts eating chips and stuff. He gets like kind of fat, like fat Cthulhu.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you guys want to take over the dimension or something? Chomp, 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 chomp.
I think that you're right, man. No, I love the character design, though. I think that it's really cool, and I love the way they portray a lot of these things. Like, even at the very end there, whenever there's a huge explosion that she triggers at the base, and he's kind of like crawling to get away from it.
Yes.
And he's like fucking 400
cool.
feet tall, but he's still fast. That's scary as shit.
He looks tiny then in comparison. I love that, because up to this point, we've only seen him as gigantic as he is. But then when we like zoom out and see this huge explosion, like, he looks big, but he looks small. Like, they finally put him in perspective of like how deep these depths are. And it's just like, he's so small from that distance.
Oh, yeah.
And still gigantic. Like,
yeah. And they built up how big he is too.
To fathom.
Whenever we have that scene where they're walking across that walkway underneath all that like red light and stuff, and you see all the deep ones like hanging down from something, then you realize they're like, what are those fish that attach to sharks?
Oh, right.
I can't remember what those things. Remora? Something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they just like feed off parasites and stuff off of them and keep them clean, basically, so the shark's cool with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you realize that's how big he is he's got these motherfuckers dangling off of him. Dude, it's so fucking
that
scary.
Was actually real gross to me, because some of them were coming out of like holes in his skin, which is a disgusting thought to me.
They're like cosmic blackheads.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. But yeah, I loved that, though. Like, that whole reveal and seeing them, like, come out of, like, off of him and stuff. It was just like, whoa, what? Like, he's got this army of deep ones worshiping him and attacking anything around that threatens him. It is just a real dope moment. I like that. Yeah,
and I'll tell you what, those creatures and those explosions and everything are, I'm sure, 99 if not 100% CG, and they look great. Like, I think the effects in this look fantastic. And, you know, again, it's because we don't clearly see everything, because you've got all this environmental, like, I don't even know what they call it. It's like that dust that falls at the bottom of the ocean.
Right, detritus, yes.
Yeah, it's like it's obscuring your view exactly of what you're seeing. And I think that's very smart that they did it that way. That way you don't clearly see that these are totally fabricated CGI characters. I never once in my head was just like, oh, that looks fucking fake, you know?
Right, yeah. They keep all the CGI stuff underwater, aside from the, baby thing.
Yeah.
I imagine they had something practical for
Surely
that
was
and then overlaid it with CGI, yeah.
Kind of glossed it up a little bit.
Yeah. But I'm with you. Like, the way that they did the CGI, it looks great because it's so like shadowed and shaded, and like you can't really see through the thickness of the haze. And I really don't have a problem with this movie. I see that it's not like the greatest horror movie ever made or anything. It doesn't have like, there's no real like extremely building tense moments other than say when they're dragging the boyfriend in, and as you said, the deep ones are hanging down there like sleeping. That's like the one major like tense like horror movie moment other than all the other natural tension that was going on. But I just don't see the issues with this. I
know.
just don't know how people didn't watch this and have fun.
I know, right? Like to me, it's about as good as it could have been. Like I don't think that.
Yeah, it's exactly what this movie could be. Yeah,
I can't think of much you'd add in that would make this better. Exactly. You know, I think it knew what it was trying to do. It knew it wasn't going to overstay its welcome and be a 2.5, 240 long movie like Alien. It's just like, let's just get right into the point, get right into the tension. These are normal people in a crazy situation. And then let's have this big reveal that it's fucking Cthulhu and you're good to go. Like, I think, honestly, one of my only real complaints about the movie, some of the editing choices that they made, I think were budgetary in nature, where there are a lot of cuts to black. Like, if you did a shot every time there was a cut to black in this movie, you'd be fucking shot by the end of it. Because there's a lot of times where it's like, something happens, cut to black. Now they're in the base. Something happens, cut to black. Like, there's a lot of that in this, and it's like, I don't know if that was a choice or a necessity exactly, but there was kind of a lot of those.
I wondered a few times if maybe because it was going to be so CG heavy, the budget for shooting was actually pretty low. Like, there's a shot, like, right after Rodrigo dies and they get to safety, like, TJ Miller takes his helmet off and, like, hits the wall, but he does it like real light, and then it's like he looks at the camera. Like,
I didn't notice that, really?
Yeah, it was. Then he was like, "Wait, why didn't they even include that?" And it's like, I guess maybe they couldn't get another shot or something. I think the budget shows sometimes, but you know, they had a good budget, and obviously they're paying Kristen Stewart good money to be there, I would imagine. Director is William Eubank, so he probably, his fee wasn't huge. He had only really done a movie called The Signal before this, and so I imagine his director's fee wasn't big. Yeah, it really would just be, I would think they would have more time, but maybe they shot it from April to May, so it was a pretty quick shoot, and most of it was post-production. Yeah, I can see what you're talking about, though. There's some choices where it does seem like maybe they wanted to do more and just couldn't.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And two, like, as far as it looking cheap or whatever, like, I like the fact that the sets and these bases and stuff looks really utilitarian. Like, it doesn't look like you're, inside of a fucking base of the future at the bottom of the ocean. Like, this feels very like, okay, they built this probably as cheap as they could for these people to come down here and do the work and, possibly unearth Cthulhu on purpose. Maybe that was the entire intent, but it looks like they weren't trying to, deck this place out as nicely as they could. It's entirely utilitarian, and I think that that's really dope about it. I love the sets in the movie. And again, dude, it's like I could say it reminds me of the tight tunnels and stuff like that on the ships on Alien, but, well, dude, how could it not look like that? Like, what, is a base at the bottom of the ocean supposed to look like a fucking funhouse? Of course it's going to be tight corridors and stuff, and of course that reminds you of Alien. That's just how it would work.
Yeah.
The inside of every car has a steering wheel. What's your fucking point?
Yeah, the nature of, like, the evil corporation element, it's much bigger in Alien, obviously.
Sure.
Because in Underwater, it's really only revealed in the opening titles and closing credits. Like, there's not a whole lot of discussion ever about TN Industries or what they're doing down there or any of that. So they did a good job of, like what you said, like, Alien tries to establish how boring the job is, like as a necessity, that it's just like space trucking, by having them sit around and talking and all this stuff. And they just didn't really have the time for that in this movie. So they really do just get all of that story out in opening credits and then a couple news clips in the closing credits.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, and that's fine. Like, I like it being a shady, like, I never see the president of that organization. We never find out that the captain knew all along this was the plan.
Right.
Again, that would just be Alien, man. And if you want that
would just be
watch Alien.
Yeah.
I don't get it, man. I don't get those complaints. And two, I want to point this out as well. Like, in terms of the lack of character depth, where it's like, oh man, she had to make that choice to shut the door as all those explosions were happening at the first of the movie, which looked dope, by the way. I love the way those corridors just collapse. Terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's going like 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's going so fast.
Uh-huh.
She has to make that decision to shut the door on those people to save everybody else. And again, I saw critiques of people being like, oh, if you would have known those characters, it would have made that a bigger impact, blah, blah, blah. But then there's little stuff, man, where at the start of the movie where it shows her alone in that bathroom brushing her teeth and stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's a daddy long legs in the sink. And she cares so much for life that she doesn't do what a lot of people would do and just wash it down the drain. She carefully lifts it out, gets it out of the sink basin before she turns the water on to brush her teeth. Like, it shows little things that she cares for all life. Even a little daddy long legs that just happened to make it down there to the bottom of the ocean. She's like, okay, let's take care of this guy. So that her making the decision to close the door on those people was not easy. That's not something that was just like, I don't know, fuck them. There is character development here.
Essentially got washed down the drain as well. Yeah, it is very quick setting up exactly the type of person she is, showing her in a situation where she has to not be that type of person to save other people, and then showing how much that devastates her.
Yeah.
All within 5 minutes.
Let me ask you this, because there's a subtle element of this movie that I've not quite figured out, and that is the couple of references / homages to Alice in Wonderland that are in this movie.
Yeah.
TJ Miller has a white rabbit. He has an insignia thing that says, like, we're all mad down here or something like that on his, I guess, like on his helmet or breather tank or something.
Yeah, he also references a line from Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, drowning in her tears or whatever. Like, and I guess there's other stuff, like, she's small, so she can crawl through that little tunnel and stuff like that. I don't really exactly know how deep all that stuff goes, and if there is some sort of parallel or contrast to Alice in Wonderland, other than it's this person in a strange land and a strange scenario. I don't exactly know what they're going for there.
Going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Obviously, it would be a connection. They are down the rabbit hole.
They're down the Cthulhu hole.
Right. Going down the rabbit hole, of course, implies a lot of twists and turns that we get throughout the movie. But yeah, it's not the strongest connection, I don't think. But they definitely tried to get it in there. I don't think it adds much to the story, or, maybe I'm missing something, but it just seems more like something that really doesn't illuminate anything about what happens. It's just like kind of shouting out the reference to what they're doing.
I think so. And, it didn't really seem to do a lot, but it's like it didn't take away anything either, so I'm not critiquing it. I'm just saying maybe there's more of that than I thought, but I don't really know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I didn't see much more to it. Like, I kept noticing those things and being like, okay, so like, how's this gonna connect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think honestly about my only complaint about the movie that's worth mentioning, I think that last line is really cheesy. Let's light this shit up. That's like, oh man,
let's
like
light
that.
This shit up.
I kind of planned on her like hitting the bomb, and then you hear that line, and then you have like maybe like a Dead Mouse song start playing. Like there's a bass drop whenever the bomb blows up, and it's pew, like dubstep, like light this shit up. Like was that really the line?
Super popular dubstep in 2020. Remember the dubstep revolution in 2020? Yeah, I see that. I think it's possible that they may have thrown in those voiceover bits afterward. Like, maybe they thought there wasn't enough going on in those scenes and they needed her to say something rather than...
Some kind of connection, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, some of those lines are good. She says, awake and dreaming, not that those things are easy to tell apart. And I think that hits with me because of the year that I've been sitting in a room.
No kidding.
The pandemic has made me feel that, like, get that, and really understand what that's going for, and trying to help us connect with what it would be like to be in this underwater drill.
Oh,
but
hell.
now that we've all been there, it's like, I don't know, I fully connect with the awake and dreaming and not being able to tell the difference between the two because they're both so mundane.
Hell, Steve, it's just all come together for me right here.
What is it?
Oh, my God. Okay. This movie was made way before this pandemic, right? They waited till this pandemic had done started before they released it.
Right.
Where's this movie set? Mariana Trench. What's that near? Asia. What's that near? China, where the virus started.
Asia is close to China. They're like right next to each other, right?
This movie knew something about something that was going to happen. And they knew if they put it out too early, they couldn't take our jobs and tell us what was going to happen. That's why they waited to put it out. This movie was telling us what was going to happen.
That is without a doubt impeccable logic. I can't see any reason why you're wrong, but I think you know what? I think China and Asia, they might be so close to each other, they might even be inside one another.
They might as well be, as far as I'm concerned.
One of them might be a part of the other.
Might as well be the same place, if you ask me.
Yeah, that is interesting though, that like, because there is they are trying to connect to a Chinese audience. I feel like if this hadn't come out when it did, it may have made a lot more money. Like, I think this may have done well in China.
Yeah.
And that is probably kind of what they were relying on with giving it such a large budget. Like, it may not do as well in America, but overseas it'll do well. And they didn't get that because the pandemic had already hit in Asia. So, you know, Japan, China, Korea, they didn't go out to see it, and it just didn't make the money it would have. So, I mean, it's possible some ballsy executive out there might be like, this should get a sequel. I'd be happy to see that. I
would too. I would love it, man, and I would absolutely watch it because this movie was just such a nice surprise for me, you know, because whenever I heard the subject of, like, it's underwater, it's cosmic horror and stuff like that, I was kind of prepared to be disappointed, and for it to be like, okay, they're just dragging in
a lot
some
with cosmic horror movies, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah. They're just dragging in some monster because we know it, not because it makes sense for the story.
Right.
And they're just relying on that to make me go see it. I was kind of expecting to be disappointed by it, and I was very pleasantly surprised. Like, I would definitely watch this many more times. It's brief. It gets in, it gets out. There's some really memorable moments in here. And again, I have very little to complain about this, man.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's super solid. I think, you know, if we're getting to rating this, I think strong performances. It's obviously hurt by T.J. Miller's extracurricular shittiness.
Real life fuckery.
Real life fuckery, yeah. Obviously was harmed by that and harmed by the pandemic. And probably seen by some people who just weren't going to get it. It wasn't for them. It's for people who were maybe younger and haven't seen Alien, or people who can divorce two movies from one another.
Yeah.
And maybe those people are fewer and further between than we thought.
Could be.
But it's solid. It's solid throughout. It's not perfect. The dialogue's not perfect. I think I do really come to like the Emily character, but the Liam character, I didn't even remember his name was Liam. He is pretty much baggage for most of the movie. But I don't know how you're gonna add characterization in such a short period of time to a character that needs to be baggage for other characters to be developed.
Right.
Like,
the only way you
Emily
could do that is totally unrealistic stuff that would break the flow of the movie,
Exactly.
like flashbacks or scenes where they sit there and hug and kiss and talk about how they're going to get a puppy when they get up, above water. Like,
right.
It's just stuff that would fuck the movie up.
Yeah. I love the development of Emily, like how she is just, she's kind of, what is the opposite of a fish out of water? A human in water. She's kind of a human in water tale here, where this isn't her thing entirely. She's not into the drilling and engineering part. She's a research person. She's kind of never been out to the ocean and absolutely scared of it. Not that she's never been to the ocean, but she's never on this drill been outside, and she's frightened of it. But she becomes this super strong character who survives everything. And, that development is strong. Kristen Stewart from the beginning is like her development is less of an arc. Like, she is strong and tough from the beginning. She's just never been tested like this. And throughout, she kind of meets the test every time. And despite the fact that there's some struggle, we're always like pretty clear that she's gonna make it, which is kind of the surprise at the end, that she's not gonna make it. I like how all of that develops, and I like the characters and think that it's solid. I don't know if I'm scoring this. I don't know. Whatever I gave Tremors to. What did I give Tremors to?
I can't remember.
It's
pretty
a fun
high,
movie.
though.
I
Almost
really
like
like
8 or something like that.
8. I'm gonna give this an 8. I think this if you don't like it, fine. I get it.
You can kiss
really
my grits.
It's retreading a lot of the same ground that you've maybe already seen. But hey, I like that ground. I want to retread it.
Yeah, totally.
We've all been looking for an alien movie to be good for a long time.
Dude,
and this is it.
And that's the thing to me, man. Like, even if you don't necessarily enjoy this movie that much, look at it as like a great resume of why this person should make the next Alien movie. Because, dude, come on.
Should direct the next Alien. Yeah.
Tell me this wasn't way fucking better than Prometheus or Covenant. Like, try telling me why either of those movies was better than this. And those movies were absolutely using every bit of nostalgia as they could. I mean, you're talking about one of the most legendary franchises ever, and that's all they had going for them, is it had fucking xenomorphs in it. That's literally it, because those movies were garbage. This guy could make I'll go on record, this guy can make a way better Alien movie than fucking Ridley Scott right now.
Right. True. Yeah. Because Ridley Scott's got it so far up its own ass that he can't remember why people liked it.
Exactly. Whereas this guy, I think, could get it and do it way better than what Ridley is capable of right now and where he's taken that franchise. So, I don't know. Yeah. And, hell, I mean, this was owned by Disney, right? So now Alien is owned by Disney. So
it is possible. There is a way that this could see a sequel, or at the very least that William Eubank could be tapped to go to Alien if they're looking at it. But yeah, who knows? I imagine if they make an Alien, though, they'll go with some big name, which, well, I don't know. Well, I'm not gonna say that, because the MCU, Disney has continually surprised me with who they go for. True. I mean, going with Taika Waititi was surprising. James Gunn was surprising. Sam Raimi is even surprising, even though he's done Spider-Man, because Sam Raimi's not the type of guy who takes orders, and the MCU is not the type of place where a director gets to decide everything that happens.
Yeah, freewheel it.
Yeah, so that was a huge surprise to me too. Yeah. So yeah, maybe they do it.
Who knows? Could happen, man. But yeah, I enjoy this movie for everything that you talked about. I like the little bit of backstory that we get to about some of these people experiencing loss before the job. I don't think we even touched on those elements with Kristen Stewart and her dude that died doing that dive, and then we find out about the captain's daughter that died and stuff like that. Like, I like that we experience those things in a very organic way
Yeah.
It's not like very forced to me the way they reveal those things. It's not like a Michael Bay, like, I do it for my daughter, then hit the detonator. Like, it's not like that cheesy shit. I'll see you in heaven, my baby girl.
I like they actually, because there were so many times that it seemed similar to a Michael Bay movie, but like swerved a bit. The one moment that really stood out was when TJ Miller turned on the music real loud. He's like, we're going to do this thing. Let's do it. And everybody's just like, what the fuck? And he's like, oh, all right, I'll turn it down. Like, that was such a Michael Bay moment where everybody would have been like, yeah, back in black.
Yeah.
We're all going down to the bottom of the ocean.
Glad they didn't go that direction.
Yeah, that would have been the worst.
I'm with you. I think 7.5 is where I would put this. I think it's very enjoyable as a flick. So hopefully, if you've been listening to this podcast, you probably could have just watched the movie like twice by now and really decided what you think about it. So I hope you've not been waiting all this time to decide if you should watch the movie.
No, should I do it? Should I?
I just don't know. I'm waiting till the very end before they tell me if I should watch it or not. I don't want to invest all my time into a movie I won't like. I'll listen to this 2.5 hour long podcast and let them tell me.
You know what? That is very flattering, though, that people trust us more than they trust the movie. This invented person that we made just now.
That is out there somewhere, because you could imagine it.
Definitely.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Next week, we're going to be digging into one that we have wanted to do for years on the show and has somehow never done. Tell them about it, Steve.
We're going to talk about that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
That we are. We got a Kenneth Branagh in there. We got a Bobby De Niro's running around.
Bobby De Niro.
Woo, man.
These hands are mine. I'm Bobby De Niro.
That's what he says. That's what he says, man. It's going to be a good one.
Can you milk me, Greg? What? That doesn't even sound like Robert De Niro.
It's not really a good De Niro. I wasn't going to break it on you, but it could use a little bit of work. You got a week to workshop. Actually, you don't have a week because it's Sunday now. You got like 3 days to workshop it. Yeah. So get practicing on that thing. That way we can do some good Bobby De Niro impressions on the show. Which I hope you guys tune in for next week. In the meantime, consider showing some support for the show by going on whatever podcast service you use and rating and reviewing this show. Give it that high 5-star rating. If it's a 10-star system, give it 10 stars. Give it the maximum amount of stars. Maybe it's 7 stars. It's magical. I don't know. Give it your all.
Find a way to give it 10 stars if it's 5 stars. That'll make up for the other stars we've lost.
Yeah, that's like 2 reviews that are really good in one. So do that if you can. Doesn't cost you a dime, just takes a second. You guys can also support us on Patreon.
That is true. Patreon.com/Dead and Lovely. Head over there, become a $5 patron. You can throw a movie into the smoking bowl, and guess what? We randomly draw from that smoking bowl once a month, and then we cover that movie. We just did Tremors 2 recently. Before that, we did Porno. That was a fun one.
Good times.
So, I'm telling you. These what's up a doos dibby dibby dabba dub.
That's the one. That's my favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers song. Zibby dabba dabba doo hibba dabba dippa. But yeah, get your movie featured on a future installment of the show just by supporting us over there on Patreon. Also follow us on Instagram and all that other shit too.
Yeah, Instagram and Twitter, we're at Dead Lovely Pod. Dead and Lovely on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Dead and Lovely. We got the Discord. I post that link every Friday. We're all over the place. You can find us if you're looking for us.
That's right. Seek and you shall find some good ways to hang out and interact with Uncle Ben.
And Hollywood Steve.
Who have been your hosts for today's show. We'll catch you guys next time. Everybody out there, have a good one and watch out for deer.
Hibba-dooba-dabba-dooba-doo-doo.
Hibba-dabba-doo-dah.
Yabba dabba doo doo. Oh, that was Weird Al's thing. I can't steal that.
Oh, yeah. No, can't do that one.
Nah.
All right. Bye. So the other day, Steve, I was maybe a little bit stoned. Maybe. I'm not saying definitely, but I'm saying I could have been stoned.
I've never been there, but continue.
I'll tell you about it. But the thing is I was getting the hungers, as you sometimes do.
Right.
So I decided that I should thaw myself a piece of fish that I had in the freezer and cook it up. And of course, the best way to thaw a piece of fish is just to run it underwater for a while, right?
Okay, sure.
So I left them in the plastic. I put them in the sink there. I was running them underwater. And my wife always drives her crazy because she's like, you're wasting so much water. And I'm like, but I got to thaw the fish for myself to eat.
Right.
And in my altered state, I was thinking to myself, wow, maybe the reason running this piece of fish underwater works so well for thawing it is because it reminds it of being alive.
Maybe.
I mean, it could.
Maybe the fish is like, am I back to life? Oh, sweet existence. Oh.
Well, it kind of got me thinking, too, like, maybe next time I'm thawing out, like, a steak, I just go throw it in a field for a while. See if it just, like, thaws out really fast, because it's like, oh, to be alive again.
Now, I'm going to tell you the best way to thaw things is to put them in the refrigerator overnight.
Who's got time for that, man? Come on. That's for people who plan. Who does that anyway?
I'm also a run things underwater type from time to time, but I like to throw it in the fridge to remind it I'm still in charge. Like, you know, if you put it in the field, it's like, yeah, it's gonna thaw, but you're gonna have to lasso it.
That's true. It could run off on you.
Right. I put it in the fridge, so it's like, well, I got nowhere to go. Fuck.
I think if you was ever needing to thaw out a piece of me, I think you just throw me in a guitar store. Yeah. I'd be like, all right, I'm back.
Listen, I don't know what your plans are after life or whatever, but if you have a tombstone, I'm chiseling that on there. If you don't, I'm going to chisel that on something.
Thaw me out in a guitar shop.
Thaw me out in a guitar shop.
You know what you would do if you needed to, quickly refresh a piece of Steven Tyler? You'd put him back in the saddle again. I'm back! Right? That's how you do it.
Yeah, you'd want it to be a pink saddle. And
favorite
probably
color.
best if you put it in an elevator, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah.
Where would they thaw you out, man?
You want to throw me out? You probably just set me in front of my computer.
Let the warm glow of the blue light to just bring you back, huh?
Boot it up and start playing some YouTube videos. Maybe start with like the Try channel or something, and
good idea.
Move into like some Fallout 4 videos or something. By the time you get to Rhett and Link, like I'll probably be thawed out.
Just toss you in the air fryer after that.
Right. And then I'll click on a Mythical Kitchen video and I'll be good.
Are we high right now?
Yeah, I am. What? I've never been high. What's up?
What happened?